This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol, live. It's a freaking Wednesday. Fucking America. That's what a lot of Americans have been saying. Libertad. Warlord with the resub. Hold on. Instead of watching boring Biden, let's have a threesome. Nope, sorry. Hold on. Throwback. A throwback watch session of the counting of the votes from 1989. No. Torchy, good evening. Libertad. Warlord. Sky Comet. Welcome. Welcome. We're on a little bit early tonight. We've got maybe next time, Warlord. And maybe if you're good tonight, you'll get to watch a police chase. Daddy Freakin provides. DJ Dub, my friend. I'm not high enough for this shit. Actually, Warlord, I think I've got something that'll make you even happier. Would you like it if I gave you something that would make you even happier than the C-SPAN archives? $100? You'll give me $100 to play something that will make you happier than the C-SPAN archives. Give me 1 second. First of all, your meme of the day. Kamala Harris shopping for her VP. Exciting whites. Now I want to win my $100 from Warlord by playing something. Oh, it's over! Oh shit! Oh shit! I'll just rewind a little bit.
Good-looking guy.
That's what I was gonna play for Warlord. Sorry, Sky Comet.
Great patriot. Great person. Members of the Charlotte Police Department are here. Please stand up. You are phenomenal. What a job. What a job they do. Thank you. What a job.
It's just ended.
Thank you very much.
He is not on anymore.
And Chief of the...
This is about 10 minutes ago.
Brian Harris. Brian, where are you, Brian?
Literally a minute ago. This was a minute ago. That is the last former president. Here in about 7 minutes, we're going to hear from the next former president, President Joe Biden, speaking from the White House, I believe, giving an address. From the Oval Office. I didn't think he would be in the Oval Office because I would figure that him talking about why he was dropping out of the race was a campaign event so that he wouldn't be in the Oval Office. Politically brings up a very good point. According to the FBI director today during testimony, we got an interesting little nugget. They have not confirmed that Trump was actually shot. We still don't know if a bullet grazed his ear or if he was struck by some other object, shrapnel, glass, something to that effect. He has indeed been wearing an oversized bandage. I mean, I guess it's possible it just grazed the top of his ear. But I did find that interesting from the FBI director earlier today. Mitochondria. Good evening. I'm going to leave it up to you guys. If you would like to talk about the FBI director's testimony, if you would like to cover the rest of what that news be doing after Biden's speech, we can do that. Or if you want to watch a police chase, I've got several of them that took place in the last year or so. If you want to watch a police chase, we can do that. I'm going to let you guys pick. We're going to watch Joe Biden's address from the Oval Office. Afterwards, we can find out what that news be doing. We can watch a police chase. Either or.
This is his. That was his first wife, Nelia, who died in a terrible car crash right around Thanksgiving in 1972.
Washington Post coverage.
That's his son, Beau, who died in 2015. There he is at Beau's funeral. The Biden story is so defined by tragedy. And for the last few weeks, Biden sort of had this mentality of, I've been counted out before and I've come back. And it did take a lot of doing, including pretty direct pressure from Nancy Pelosi.
Dan Bongino is one of the dumbest fuckers walking the planet.
It is, as he will say in his speech, for the best way to unite our nation is to pass the torch to a new generation. To your question of what now, the Democratic National Convention's
What do now?
And Biden,
The man has been through a lot.
and his like true inner circle, they are nervous that Biden is going to be sort of sidelined at the convention, that he's going to be marginalized, that he's not going to be a main character. It seems like Monday night at the DNC is going to be sort of the Biden night.
Wait a minute.
How much more time will he get?
So they've hid this motherfucker for the last 5 years.
Small, really wants the convention to be sort of a celebration of Biden, but the Kamala Harris team wants the convention to be the coronation of Kamala Harris, the introduction
As well it should be.
the country, and that is
It should be.
attention for the next 3 months. Partly too because Biden is a lame duck, but anything he does, anything controversial, for example, could end up hurting his vice president, and he doesn't want to do that. So there's still going to be this tension that exists until at least November.
So
Lady B.
next then on this question of their relationship going
I think this has energized the Democrats, Lady B.
Well, I think that, they have been so close for so long, and, Kamala Harris has really just been in his shadow. But it'll be interesting to see, whether public...
We watched her speech yesterday, and she knocked it out of the park.
...change a little bit now that he's...
It was refreshing.
Not going to be in office for another 4 years, and the extent to which he can help sort of reassure...
So we are about 2 minutes away. It's probably going to start at 8 o'clock on the nose.
She's not qualified.
This is the primetime address.
Even though she was...
So I assume the networks are taking
a
this.
senator. She's served as vice president. She was, for a long time, a courtroom
So
prosecutor.
if you are partaking,
misinformation,
light one up, tip one back.
To to Joe Biden, in part to talk about the way that he's seen her behind the scenes when she's taken a very, very much kind of a backstage role in a lot of the things going on at the White House over the last couple of years, and it's possible that he can help her kind of deflect some of those attacks in the same way that she has been talking about his abilities to do the job when there were doubts about that. That is going to be like a constant recurring criticism or attack that she's going to face in the next couple of months, and we've already seen the Trump campaign, really drilling into that, and so it'll be interesting to see the way they can play off one another.
Well, we've got Kamala for president now.
And while we're seeing, as you all mentioned, a lot of Black voters and younger voters of color really excited about Kamala Harris's candidacy, it's still an open question about those, those swing voters.
It all depends. It depends. Kamala has a different constituency.
And the extent to
Apparently,
which,
when it comes to the black vote,
back
the
and forth,
lower educated black men don't tend to go for
well with some
Kamala Harris.
educated women.
Apparently, she's very exciting to well-educated black women.
Harris there, it'll just be so interesting to watch.
JM, with just 1 minute to go here with you.
She's very exciting
Still
to
6 months left. What can a president do in that?
well-educated white women.
Duck president.
Yeah, I mean, Congress is going to be very difficult, and as it usually is.
Very scary to uneducated white
We
women.
know he's trying to negotiate this ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas.
If you want news, we're going to have to talk about Netanyahu
Bolster support on Ukraine.
in front of Congress earlier
Over and
today.
over again, his action on chips. So we'll see how much he talks about some of that, how much it's past looking, and how much it's future looking tonight.
But of course, my wafu.
About a minute and a half. So let's review what is on the line for President Biden tonight and just how momentous.
Holding it down in Congress today.
You know, sit still and listen, because it is someone
During Benjamin Netanyahu's address.
and this has to be a defining moment.
I do have that video of the effigy.
The end came probably sooner than they
It was,
thought
the burning effigy was lit.
I really think that we are covering history right now. As we said, he's going to have to talk about his own legacy, what he's accomplished, but also pass things along to Vice President Harris and give her the blessing. I was talking to James Clyburn, who he was the kingmaker out of all of this. I was talking to him today. He said what Biden really needs to do is talk about his legacy, talk about the things, the legislative things that he was able to get through, even though there was
Not in America, Libertad.
in the first part of Biden's presidency.
People are mostly educated where you're from.
To the American people who he is.
No, I think you're from here, aren't you? You live over in
Well, Rhonda,
the UK.
James, JM, Maeve, and I will all be sitting.
Like you're originally you are American, right?
With us, stick with us, because our Washington Post team will be with you.
I had this conversation with Curiouser
Analysis and a look
in the dollar store yesterday.
We'll head in just a moment to the Oval Office, where President Biden will address the nation. The second address in just 10 days, and this is the first time we're directly hearing from him on camera in person since he announced
Here we go.
for office.
My fellow Americans, I'm speaking to you tonight from
Holiday.
the resolute desk in the Oval Office. In this sacred space, I'm surrounded by portraits of extraordinary American presidents. Thomas Jefferson wrote the immortal words that guide this nation. George Washington, who showed us presidents are not kings. Abraham Lincoln, who implored us to reject malice. Franklin Roosevelt, who inspired us to reject fear. I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think it's more important than any title. I draw strength, and I
Yes, remember, guys, even though he has tested negative, we are still on.
this sacred task
Dies of COVID. Wow.
perfecting our union. It's not about me. It's about you, your families, your futures. It's about we, the people. And we can never forget that. And I never have. I've made it clear that I believe America is at an inflection point. One of those rare moments in history when the decisions we make now will determine our fate of our nation and the world for decades to come. America's going to have to choose between moving forward or backward, between hope and hate, between unity and division. We have to decide, do we still believe in honesty, decency, respect, freedom, justice, and democracy? In this moment, we can see those we disagree with not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. Can we do that? Does character in public life still matter? I believe I know the answer to these questions because I know you, the American people. And I know this: we are a great nation because we are good people. When you elected me to this office, I promised to always level with you, to tell you the truth. And the truth, the sacred cause of this country, is larger than any one of us. And those of us who cherish that cause cherish it so much. A cause of American democracy itself must unite to protect it. You know, in recent weeks, it's become clear to me that I need to unite my party in this critical endeavor. I believe
Light one up for the old man.
President, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy. That includes personal ambition. So I've decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation. That's the best way to unite our nation. You know, there is a time and a place for long years of experience in public life. But there's also a time and a place for new voices, fresh voices, yes, younger voices. And that time and place is now. Over the next 6 months, I'll be focused on doing my job as president. That means I'll continue to lower costs for hardworking families, grow our economy. I'll keep defending our personal freedoms and our civil rights, from the right to vote to the right to choose. I'll keep calling out hate and extremism. Make it clear there is no place in America for political violence or any violence ever, period. I'm going to keep speaking out to protect our kids from gun violence. Our planet
said skeet, skeet.
is the existential threat. And I will keep fighting for my cancer moonshot so we can end cancer as we know it, because we can do it. And I'm going to call for Supreme Court reform because this is critical to our democracy.
Don't call for it. Pack the court before you leave.
I will keep working to ensure America remains strong and secure and the leader of the free world. I'm the first president in this century to report to the American people that the United States is not at war anywhere in the world. We'll keep rallying a coalition of proud nations to stop Putin.
That's what the right-wingers tell me.
Doing more damage. We'll keep NATO stronger, and I'll make it more powerful and more united than any time in all of our history. I'll keep doing the same for our allies in the Pacific. You know, when I came to office, the conventional wisdom was that China would inevitably surpass the United States. That's not the case anymore. And I'm going to keep working to end the war in Gaza, bring home all the hostages, and bring peace and security to the Middle East and end this war.
Guys, no, apparently
Also working
Nancy
around the clock
Pelosi
to bring home
forced him
Americans
out.
being unjustly detained all around the world. You know, we've come so
Gave him
far
3 weeks.
since my
He
inauguration.
said we do it the easy way or the hard
That day I
way.
told you, as I stood in that winter, we were stood in a winter of peril and a winter of possibilities. Peril and possibilities. We were in the grip of the worst pandemic in the century. The worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. The worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. But we came together as Americans, and we got through it. We emerged stronger, more prosperous, and more secure. Today we have the strongest economy in the world, creating nearly 16 million new jobs, a record. Wages are up. Inflation continues to come down. The racial wealth gap is the lowest it's been in 20 years. We're literally rebuilding our entire nation, urban, suburban, rural, and tribal communities. Manufacturing has come back to America. We're leading the world again in chips and science and innovation. We finally beat Big Pharma after all these years to lower the cost of prescription drugs for seniors. And I'm going to keep fighting to make sure we lower.
I mean, that's good, but I wouldn't call that beating Big Pharma.
More people have health care
A
today
step in the right direction.
And I signed one of the most significant laws helping millions of veterans and their families who are exposed to toxic materials. You know, most significant climate law ever in the history of the world. The first major gun safety law in 30 years. And today, the violent crime rate is at a 50-year low. We're also securing our border. Border crossings are lower today than when the previous administration left office. I've kept my commitment to appoint the first black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. I also kept my commitment to have an administration that looks like America and be a president for all Americans. That's what I've done. I ran for president 4 years ago because I believed and still do that the soul of America was at stake. The very nature of who we are was at stake. And that's still the case. America's an idea. An idea stronger than any army, bigger than any ocean, more powerful than any dictator or tyrant. It's the most powerful idea in the history of the world. That idea is that we hold these truths to be self-evident. We're all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights: life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. We've never fully lived up to it, to this sacred idea, but we've never walked away from it either. And I do not believe.
Fuck no, we haven't.
Away from it now. In just a few months, the American people will choose the course of America's future. I made my choice. I've made my views known. I would like to thank our great Vice President Kamala Harris. She's experienced, she's tough, she's capable.
Didn't fall out of no coconut tree.
Me and a leader for our country. Now the choice is up to you, the American people. When you make that choice, remember the words of Benjamin Franklin hanging on my wall here in the Oval Office, alongside the busts of Dr. King and Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez. When Ben Franklin was asked, as he emerged from the convention going on, whether the founders had given America a monarchy or republic, Franklin's response was, a republic, if you can keep it. A republic, if you can keep it. Whether we keep
by Sunday for sure.
In your hands. My fellow Americans, it's been
already been thinking about it.
My life to serve this nation for over 50 years. Nowhere else on earth could a kid with a stutter, from modest beginnings in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and Claymont, Delaware, one day sit behind the resolute desk in the Oval Office as President of the United States. But here I am. That's what's so special about America. We're a nation of promise and possibilities, of dreamers and doers, of ordinary Americans doing extraordinary things. I've given my heart and my soul to our nation, like so many others. I've been blessed a million times in return with the love and support of the American people. I hope you have some idea how grateful I am to all of you. The great thing about America is here, kings and dictators do not rule, the people do. History is in your hands. The power is in your hands. The idea of America lies in your hands. We just have to keep faith, keep the faith, and remember who we are. We're the United States of America, and there's simply nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. So let's act together, preserve our democracy. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.
Joe Biden wants you to have ice cream tonight.
In a speech lasting 11 minutes, saying he reveres the office of the presidency, but that he loves this country more. He gave a pitch for Vice President Harris to succeed him and called for unity and character, praising unity as a great nation because of its
unity graphic win.
He also gave a pitch about what he hopes to be doing with his last 6 months and reviewed what he sees as the highlights of his administration. James and Rhonda and JM, his speech also recalled his inauguration speech. He also talked about themes that he's talked about really for decades now, and then others that he has focused on dramatically since the rise of Donald Trump, and how Joe Biden has talked about preserving democracy. Other highlights, James?
Yeah, I think he wanted us to understand. He wanted to convey that he is being selfless, that he is trying to be like Cincinnatus, like George Washington in this line of presidents who gave up power for the greater good, that this is bigger than himself. Obviously, it took a while for him to get there, but he is very much saying that
he did indeed have to be forced out. Do understand that he was stubborn about it.
There's a time and a place for new, fresh, and yes, younger voices, and it was a valedictory. There was a humility that he was trying to convey, but there was also a pride, and I do think he will get some kind of bounce in the polls. I think,
in case you missed the meme of the day,
as a partisan figure, and he did come across as a statesman, and I do think that there are a lot of people who maybe will reassess the last 3.5 years in light of the fact that his name is not going to be on the ballot in November.
Rhonda.
Yeah, it did seem like he wanted to make sure that he said that this was a sacrifice. He said that we are at an inflection point. We've all heard him say that he decided to join the race back in 2020 because he was concerned.
Kill a cat, you say.
Specifically after Charlottesville. And according to Biden right now, he's dropping out of the race and handing this over to someone else who has a better.
Do you have a request about which cat?
The former President Trump.
Here's I have a Maynard and a Socrates.
The tone of
Andy.
doing this as a state.
Those are the two that are right here.
Involved because nothing should stand in the way.
If I had to guess, I would say Smokey's
that's
on the
something
other
that he
side of the
said.
couch.
I thought it was notable that he.
You don't care which cat. Okay, I'm going to get a Maynard.
Proposals or reform that he'd like to get done. One of them was Supreme Court reform. That was something reported last week that he said he wants to work on, which would include term limits and include a stronger ethics code that the justices would have to comply with. He talked about stopping Putin, ending the war in Gaza, the moonshot, the cancer moonshot that he developed as a vice president under President O'Points there.
They sort of sound like things you need at least 4 years to do.
That is,
I mean, in some ways it was still the campaign.
Seem,
Cure cancer.
Yeah, they may seem lofty, but it does show you a president that is still forward-thinking about his own initiatives and the things he wants to accomplish.
Yeah, and JM, he's also using this moment to highlight what he wants to see live on, right? What he wants to see the next generation.
I'm a childless cat lady.
Perhaps have as priorities as well.
I'm that weird guy that
this was a
nobody wants to talk to, aren't I?
Out the stakes multiple times in just 11 minutes of what he thought was on the line, what he thinks is on the line.
Weird old guy that lives by himself.
James and Rhonda are correct that there was sort of a statesman and a humility that came across in it, and it was different than what
been having a midlife crisis
the last few weeks, where he was kind of pushing back pretty firmly against calls for him to drop out of the race. But we heard him lay out the stakes tonight. He talked about where the country was in his view when he took office, what he has done while in office, what he wants to do in the final 6 months in office, and then where he sees the country going forward, how he thinks of this as an inflection point, and how
once upon a time, I had a dating life. I saw people.
Rhonda just mentioned,
and then slowly but surely it got to where I didn't see people anymore.
Families, talked about gun violence, talked about
I would have people over and we would fuck.
Also talked about in foreign policy.
I didn't really go out and go on dates or anything anymore.
3 areas he's been extremely focused on.
I go to concerts.
And Gaza could be a significant kind of final.
But I don't even
of his if
have
he's able to get
lady
that
callers
ceasefire
anymore
agreement in place,
or gentlemen callers. You never
if
know.
He's able to get the hostages that are still being held there released. The last thing I'll just note is that
I'd rather just jack off and play video games, to be honest with you.
Spoke directly.
It's not worth the trouble anymore.
And said, "quote The choice is up to you. This election."
No. There's this woman. She was married to a friend of mine. They got divorced a few years ago. I've always just really been attracted to her, but she fucking batshit crazy. I mean, she drama follows her all day, every fucking day. And but I'd kind of every now and then send her a message, be like, "How you doing? Everything okay?" Because I'm just always my dick is just always. And she finally just out of the blue was like, "Hey, do you want to fuck or not?" And it was one night after I got off the stream a few weeks ago, and I was like, "All right, you can come over." And it was fun. I enjoyed my human interaction. But then, the next night, she's like, "Hey, you want to do it again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've had too much human interaction. Can't do it." I'm fucking crazy. It's not like I'm being derogatory towards women, right? All little fucking, especially creative people, and I'm around a lot of other creative people, and I've legitimately been around people with mental issues. Sparkles. I had a friend describe her paranoid schizophrenia to me. And that was wild, listening to somebody describe what life is like to live with that condition. And I guess that's one of the reasons why you're able to develop, sympathy towards people. I'm sorry. Let's go back to politics. Do you guys never told me?
Is the presidential term.
Venus, I'll tell you good evening.
Less partisan politics.
Are we finding out what that news be doing, or are we doing a car chase?
Achilles heel for the Biden campaign as well as the Biden administration.
Somebody needs to make
Just
a
hasn't been landing with a lot of
determination.
American people. There was the infrastructure bill. That bill has been lauded by Republicans on the Hill who go back to their districts and discuss it with their constituents. However, that was something that people just weren't feeling because of inflation, because of higher prices.
It also takes a while to build
It
stuff.
does.
I mean, part
It
of this
does.
is like the literal infrastructure of the infrastructure bill.
Yeah.
Not if you're China. They got those machines that just build shit.
Things you might not feel right away, maybe years, maybe even decades down the line. So that's always been a struggle with the Biden administration and been hard for the campaign to help people understand some of those things that he did that are kind of kitchen table issues or things that hit every American. I just wanted to note I got an email from the DNC who said they are going to launch billboards across Wilmington and Scranton soon that will list some of these legislative.
Damn. Like, okay, I gotta do both then.
And of course,
All right, so how about we do a chase, then we find out what that news be doing?
And Scranton grew up there as well, but
Because it seemed like it was 50-50.
to a point we made earlier about the DNC, I'm not
Chase news, let's go.
abandoning
Okay,
Biden so
boom.
much.
Man of the people. Well, I mean, I was gonna do like an hour and get out of here, but you guys, you want news and chase. You get news and chase. Unfortunately, when we find out what that news be doing, we gotta talk about like the atrocities in Israel. We gotta talk about the speech Netanyahu gave to Congress earlier today. We gotta talk about Director Wray's testimony, the new body cam footage from the shooter, all kinds of shit going on. But before we get to that, let's have a little fun with a chase.
Right now at this hour, CHP in pursuit of a vehicle here. Rich Prickett up in Sky 5 High.
Hi, Lou. Yeah, very erratic.
Burgles are my favorite people.
You can see the silver pickup that just exited the west
Flash, good evening.
freeway, now on Diamond Bar Boulevard. It would appear that there.
Have you joined the Coconut Gang yet?
In the truck, and something else that may be in there with the driver, possibly an animal. We saw him.
An animal, goddamn it!
Wrestling with something within the vehicle. The car was swerving out of control, and then all of a sudden exited.
Oh, he's swerving again.
You can see these erratic, the way he's swerving here as he makes his way up Diamond Bar Boulevard.
This chase is not live. This happened about 6 months ago.
Behind him, I'm not entirely sure if that's
Majit. Is that how you say it? Welcome in, my friend.
It would appear that it is CHP that's directly behind him. There's also a helicopter.
We went through a string where we had live chases,
where this
were semi-live chases. They happened earlier in the day.
Radio traffic that there is.
Now YouTube's just suggesting chases to me.
At least vandalism at this point here. You can see the. We'll try and get in a little tighter here to look at the driver, but it looks like he's just moving around very quickly here, just trying to swerving around, almost nearly losing control several times. Here. We'll try and get a view.
That's probably right. Majit.
If there's anything else in the
Welcome in, my friend.
cab of the truck here that he may be wrestling with, but
What is this? A Nissan?
very erratic, all over the roadway here through the city of Pomona here. Still northbound. Looks like we're on Mission Boulevard at this point. Driving about 70 miles an hour, blowing through red lights here, and still have.
I think it's a Toyota.
Directly behind the silver truck here, coming up on a busy intersection, just blowing through that intersection, swerving around.
Need some weight in the back.
And again, this is a pursuit that's been ongoing for
Meat Gates, good evening.
last, 20 minutes or so. We first originally heard it on the 10 freeway where he just crashed into an SUV here. Right on the corner of Mission Boulevard. Looks like he's reversing. Still keeps going here. CHP still in trail. Now we're in a residential area, a little access road here that's parallel with Brea Canyon Road, or it looks like he's approaching a dead end here.
If you are partaking tonight.
And
oh fuck, he's in a.
He's gonna up on the curb. He's gonna.
Is this a cul-de-sac?
Here, CHP.
He outmaneuvered the cops.
Again,
I love it.
Move. And we'll try and see if we can get that street here for you. Looks like Brea Canyon Road, which is parallel with Mission Boulevard here. Let's see if he makes it back out to the boulevard. No, he's going to continue through.
I don't know if that's a good idea.
Looks like there's a door. Ooh. Well, needless to say, it would appear that he did throw a dog from the vehicle here on the driver's side. So there's a. Hopefully that dog is going to be okay. But earlier we did see him wrestling around with something within the cab of that truck. It did appear to be some sort of animal, and we're hearing now that it is indeed a dog.
Hopefully he was going slow
or was thrown out of this truck. You can see a little bit of front end damage there where he collided with that white SUV. Now continuing through a residential area with at least one unit directly behind the pickup truck and the air unit still above. We'll try and get a view out the window to see if there's any other CHP units that are in close proximity, or if they're going to request any PD or sheriff.
God damn, he did it again. He is outmaneuvering the cops.
A residential area. You can see another black and white and another.
Yeah, I hope the cops cop him at the end of this.
Trail.
I'm not high enough for this shit.
Agency that is. It would appear that they are PD vehicles from another agency other than the CHP. And he's slowing down a little bit here through the residential area. Looks like, let's see if he will exit the car. Looks like he's opening the door.
Oh, shit. Oh, what?
Okay, continuing.
Did he wave at us?
Making some hand gestures. Let's see, he's making another turn here.
I think he waved at us.
Traffic as well with the CHP and the other black and white units that are directly behind this pickup truck.
Let's took that recycling bin out.
Area. It looked like that, he was ready to get out of the vehicle, but then immediately closed the driver door and continued going here. Still in the Pomona area. We're not sure if he's familiar with this area or not. We'll see if he circles back around to that same street. He is going in that general direction once again. And let's see if he makes another turn. No, he's going to go through. So still staying in the same residential area, just not on the street where he was planning to possibly exit the pickup truck just a few minutes ago. Looked like we had a couple units on the street corner there. I'm not entirely sure if they threw out a spike strip. It was a little difficult to see whether or not they attempted to throw out a spike strip to slow him down. But he is picking up some speed here, about 40 miles an hour through the residential area. So hopefully we don't see any pedestrians out on the roadway. Okay, now back out on Mission Boulevard, southbound now.
I had to make Smokey sit down.
He makes his way back towards the freeway where he exited just a short while ago. And stand by 1 second here. Okay, so we got one CHP that's directly behind. We got at least two units of the CHP directly behind this pickup as he's making his way down Mission Boulevard back towards the 60. And we'll find out here in just a moment whether or not he decides to get back onto the freeway or not. And he's going to make another turn here on Phillips
amazing.
Drive from Mission Boulevard. And we're not seeing as erratic driving as we did earlier. Again, he did have an animal that was in the pickup truck that did either fall or was thrown from the truck.
Oh, there is an animal in that pickup truck.
Hopefully that animal's okay.
Oh, shit.
All right, we lost our signal. Oh, we just lost our signal. Now we have it back. Let's go back to Rich. All right, this is a pursuit taking place in Pomona. You see the silver pickup truck. A suspect wanted for vandalism, apparently spray painting some graffiti somewhere. Again, this taking place in Pomona, and this driver, we believe at one point he actually threw an animal outside of the car, and he's been racing on residential streets and commercial streets, and this guy's totally out of control.
Yeah, this started around
totally out of control.
According to officials around the 10 freeway. He's been in Diamond Bar and Pomona. Again, as Glenn mentioned,
is Diamond Bar the name of the place? Oh, shit!
And he just had a head-on collision.
This red car on the overpass of the, I believe that's the, let's see here, It's going to be the overpass here.
Driver, we believe at one point he actually threw an animal outside of the car, and he's been racing on residential streets, and this guy's totally out of control.
Yeah, this started around 1:30.
Or would you rather me call you Jesus?
Around
Why
the
is
10
Jesus?
freeway. He's been in Diamond Bar and Pomona. Again, as Glenn mentioned, wanted for vandalism, possibly graffiti. And he just had a head-on collision.
He just literally
with
this red car on the overpass of the, I believe that's the, let's see here. It's going to be the overpass here. CHP is now taking cover behind the car with guns drawn. We'll wind out here just to be safe, make sure we don't show anything that's not appropriate here. As they work to take
what in the fuck was he doing? Like it was clear, it was open road.
Way
place in Pomona, and this driver,
I don't understand.
We believe at one point he actually threw an animal outside of the car, and he's been racing on residential streets and commercial streets, and this guy's totally out of control.
Yeah, this started around 1:30, according to officials around the 10 freeway. He's been in Diamond Bar and Pomona. Again, as Glenn mentioned, wanted for vandalism, possibly.
Why did he do that?
Had a head-on collision.
He just literally
with
this red car on the overpass of the, I believe that's the.
Maybe he had a.
It's going to be the overpass.
Tire go out or something.
Is now taking cover behind the car with guns drawn. We'll widen out here just to be safe, make sure we don't show anything that's not appropriate here. As they work to take this driver into custody, but just moments ago, driving on the wrong way against traffic and slamming into that red car. Hopefully, the driver or the occupants of that car are going to be okay. Looks like the officers are checking up. Looks like we're seeing somebody move there. An airbag was deployed, so hopefully that driver will be okay.
We've now gone from chase to standoff.
Is still inside.
You think he was just circling around Pomona, looking for somebody?
Conscious or not, but it was a very violent crash. It just happened moments ago here. You can see all the PD and CHP black and whites converging on this crash here. Let's see. Get rid of this. Okay, so it looks like they did take out.
Oh, I didn't even think about a GPS
the red
tracker.
Car walking away. So that's a sigh of relief there. Again,
it looks like some dude.
Suspect that was driving in that
could also been a lover.
Appears to be slumped over in the front seat there. They're waiting to make an approach. I'm sure they're making commands here to see if they can get the attention of the suspect, but still unknown. We don't know if he's even conscious and able to hear commands from the officer.
Of all the shit we've watched on this show, this is what broke you.
We haven't heard whether or not they believe this person to be armed or not. The original want, as far as we know, is vandalism. Aside from the fact that he was driving,
he had to have some other
on the
warrants out for him or
surface
something.
Streets, and then at one point either let a dog out of the car or threw an animal out.
I'm hoping that it was
an update on
low speed.
Whether or not
that's when he was on the access road.
But to give you an idea of where we are, we're on.
We don't really know, Nathan.
Boulevard.
I'll see if I can find the story.
Of the.
This happened a few months back.
This is the 71 freeway, so 71 and Mission Boulevard is where we are right now. Again, officers still waiting to make an approach to the vehicle. The suspect appeared to be slouched over in the front seat of that car just after that violent crash. Good news is they were able to take the driver out of the red car, and that driver appeared to just be walking away, so in pretty decent shape. The fire department, I would imagine, is en route to evaluate him. It looks like we have some movement here from the suspect, so he is sitting up, and he's got the windows still up, but you can see that PD and CHP are making commands here, trying to get him to come out on his own here. Let's see if we can get any markers here on who the PD is. I believe it said Rialto Police Department, as well as the CHP here, just above the 71 at Mission Boulevard.
that this suspect hit during this pursuit. We saw him head on with another SUV or another vehicle about 2 miles prior to this. Erratic behavior from the beginning, high speeds, running through red lights, swerving back and forth, allegedly possibly throwing this dog out of the vehicle as well. So his mental state is one thing that they
Puppy
always have
was
to take into
safe.
consideration,
He was
especially when they
microchipped.
get this close to him, because he could be armed.
They hadn't found its owners.
Indeed, yeah. It's still not known whether or not this guy had any sort of weapons within the vehicle. We're not even.
He had a
sure
felony
just yet whether this
evading
even belongs
incident.
to this person. Again,
He had
this
a
was
warrant for
a
felony
lengthy pursuit
evading.
that we heard originally on the 10 freeway, made its way down the 15 to the 60 before exiting here in Pomona. And that's where we
dog,
sit now,
okay,
just above
that was a
the
picture
71
afterwards.
at Mission Boulevard.
I don't believe it was his dog.
At least two agencies here. Let's see, the CHP, looks like maybe Rialto PD as well as Fontana PD that are here with guns drawn and some ballistic shields here, just trying to get this driver to come out on his own. You can see one of those cars does have a canine, so we'll see if that canine goes to work here shortly. But for now, it looks like the driver, the suspect that was involved in that crash, is moving and sitting up in the driver's seat.
I don't think it was a carjacking.
So we'll just await and see what
Libertad, I have something for you.
what the authorities decide to do here, if they're going to wait this out, if they're going to need to bring in any sort of tactical teams, or if they're going to make an approach on their own.
Well, time is obviously on the side of law
He
enforcement.
was
in this
charged with
case.
evading,
How long do you
assault with a
think
deadly
they'll
weapon.
wait out until they decide to deploy the canine.
But yeah, well, that's unknown, right? So we don't know if they'll decide to use a canine all
See if I can get his name and get an update.
But they certainly are trying to communicate with him. He's got the windows up. We don't know if there's a language barrier or he's
It
just,
doesn't even
being
say his
stubborn.
name
He's
in
not
this story.
willing to come out of the truck on his own. So we'll just sit here and wait and see. Clearly he's injured here. It looked like maybe a little bit of blood on the forehead. You can see the airbag that had deployed. So and we all witnessed how violent that crash is. So, you know, we don't know how badly injured the suspect is, if he's even able to get out of the vehicle. But, you know, for now, they are talking to him through a window, and we'll wait and see if they request any additional resources, you know, a tactical team, or what have you. So,
Well, Torchy, I don't know that he wasn't
we're
going
listening to the
slow.
traffic here. Most
And,
of
you
the
know,
communication
let
is
the
happening
dog
all
out.
between them, since they're all in close proximity.
That's what I hope
Again,
happened.
there's a,
That he was
number of
worried for the
different
dog's
agencies here. We
safety.
believe we have Rialto,
That he was actually
Fontana, and
being
CHP,
caring. That he thought he might
that are all
die
here
by
in
cop or
comparison
be in a
to
horrendous
silver pickup
accident.
here.
And he wanted the doggy
Again,
to be
just
out.
above the 71 freeway.
That's how I took it.
Boulevard in Pomona.
I don't know that, you know, if he grabbed the dog by its hind leg and
The
threw
other
it out the
driver
window.
away, across the
I'd
street.
almost
Is he
want
still
capital
on scene,
punishment
or
for
is
that,
possibly
right?
in the hospital to be
What?
checked out, because that was a pretty violent crash, and you know, he could have some internal.
But I'm hoping it was more of a
Indeed,
let the
you know,
dog out because he was
when we
concerned
saw
for the
him,
dog's safety.
walking out of that red car on his own.
I can't find any other information. I'm glad that the story had the update on the dog,
Fire
but they're like nothing about what happened to this motherfucker
to give any
or
sort of
what caused him
so,
to go on this
I believe that
rampage.
he is sitting in a cruiser for now. I would imagine at some point they'll have to get a statement from him.
Well, I did get the update. Like he's got like broken ribs, broken leg. Like he's banged the fuck up. I can tell you
Once they
that.
get the suspect out.
That was the only
will
update they had on him.
Him as well.
Didn't even give a
Matter
name.
of time before they can get him out of this truck.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I'm wondering if you know the protocol of like why there's not an ambulance or someone there that can check out the guy that was in the red vehicle, and then once they
Well, he looked like he was walking it off.
probably will need some medical attention as well.
Yeah, indeed. You know, I didn't hear the call myself, but I would imagine they've already made a call to the fire department. It's just a matter of them making it here to the scene. Now, oftentimes, you know, depending on the situation.
I didn't see it, but apparently it was visible on the camera. Because
Until they feel that, you know, the situation is contained and it's safe for fire.
The news anchors mentioned it.
You know, basically be this close to the location. It looks like that is the driver of the red vehicle, so it looks like he's being escorted here.
Yeah,
by
walking it off.
He's holding his hip there. I'm not sure if he's injured, but you know, it was a pretty bad crash. So
it was.
Look at, but you know, as I was just saying, you know, depending on the situation, they'll probably take him down here to the
crash
corner,
again,
where
Oof.
they will meet with the firefighters once they can get here. And he'll be evaluated.
You got to wonder if he didn't have some sort of medical emergency.
You know, it's so frustrating, these pursuits, because it's typically our biggest fear is that these suspects will hit an innocent driver or a pedestrian.
Dude was bald, I do believe.
This vehicle hit two.
We saw him get out of the truck for a second.
One just such a
or
heavy,
almost get out of the truck.
It was almost either intentionally.
Yeah, here we go, and we get a good look at him here.
And he stopped looking, and he crossed the line and hit that car head on.
Yeah, and then he.
Yeah, you know, there's
waved at us.
Off ramps here for the 71 freeway, so I'm not entirely sure if he was just trying to veer.
They had him in a cul-de-sac, and he was able to outmaneuver the popo.
The freeway at the last second, and that's when he collided. But we are just above the 71 freeway here at Mission Boulevard.
Yeah, it definitely looked like that may have been what he was trying to do, because he was going.
It's the worst kind of wreck you can be in.
71 freeway, but of course, as you can see it right there, but he wouldn't.
I don't know if it's better to be head on or
right at him, and
you know, just slightly off center of head on, like they are.
The guy in that
I think that might be worse.
So likely to be walking around. I mean, it's just terrifying to see that. Again, you know, talking about this.
Was it like a black SUV that kind of swerved behind the car? Yeah.
Also talk just while we're sitting here waiting, and I think about it often when I see a pursuit or we cover these pursuits, is that if something like this is happening near you or behind you, or you're aware of it, to not intervene, right? Can you talk a little bit about that, just to remind our viewers what officers typically want us to do?
What are you talking about? Like, I'm going to go hop in the back of his truck.
Lou, I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? I was just talking with David, our Sky 5 pilot, who's watching this outside his window, and he'll alert us. He's just letting us know now that fire department is now arriving here at the location. And again, you know, they're trying to keep the firefighters safe as well. So they're going to kind of guide them in a spot where they are safe and away from any sort of crossfire. And again, we don't know what the suspect
You'll get caught up in the crossfire.
Truck. But you can see they have closed the overpass here at Mission Boulevard.
You ever play Crossfire when they were a kid?
And, you know, so
I was wondering if it's even safe for him to be in that vehicle.
Will make their way to that.
I don't know what that liquid is that's leaking. It could be
just
radiator fluid. It could be windshield wiper fluid. It could be gasoline.
Live, you saw it right here on the KTLA 5 News at 1. This out-of-control silver pickup truck.
Could be a mixture of several.
Wanted for vandalism. We understand it was graffiti. If he could have given himself up, it would have saved a lot of people a lot of headaches, but instead he decided to make a run for it, driving very dangerous. And you saw what happened, how it ended here in Pomona. As Lou pointed out a moment ago, he hit an SUV or a van a little bit earlier, turning onto a street, just kind of tapped the front end and kept going. And then just moments later, he head-on collision with this red vehicle. And it looks like that driver will probably be okay. We saw law enforcement walking him down the sidewalk. After getting him out of the car, he'll be attended to by the fire department, maybe taken to the hospital to be checked out. Meantime, the driver, who's causing all the problems and wreaking havoc, continues to sit behind the steering wheel and refuses to come out of the vehicle. Matter of fact, we don't even know if maybe he's even capable of coming out of the vehicle, because that was a pretty nasty collision.
The windshield wipers have come on and off.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's stuck or if that's something he's doing intentionally. Really unfortunate situation as well for animal lovers out there. This guy had a dog that we are assuming was a dog that was in this vehicle, and the dog either jumped from the car or was thrown from the driver's side window on a residential street. So hopefully we'll get some reports
Puppy
to see if
is
that animal
okay.
is okay. And then
There is the puppy after.
on the 10, he was in Diamond Bar and Pomona. And when we jumped on this, Rich Prickett made it very clear.
The story made it sound like it was not his puppy.
In terms of the driving, high speeds, running through red lights, also jerking the steering wheel a lot, just very agitated.
Nathan, I can't. Like, I don't know how to.
A head-on collision like that. I mean, that a lesser head-on collision has killed people before. That had.
It wasn't necessarily graffiti. It could have been.
We mentioned the driver in the red vehicle.
Any number
was
of
able to
things.
walk away.
But graffiti would fall under
Suspect
vandalism.
right now, though, with that airbag deployed inside of that truck, and more officers.
Or did it
have
say
started to
graffiti
show up,
suspect
right,
at some point in time?
Indeed, yeah. Now, correction on who is here that we can see. We have Pomona PD that's here. We have Rialto PD. So that's possibly where this. And CHP here as well, since this vehicle was traveling on the 10 freeway.
On the 10.
We also have a California Highway Patrol helicopter that's up above, who had relieved the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department. I believe we had Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department helicopter that was overhead.
Penis, did I tell you good evening?
From a number of different.
Our signal with Rich continues to cut in and out. Unsure what's going on there, but he was talking about which departments are on scene, but we also saw there's also a canine unit on
CIA
scene
is
as well.
cut our
that'll be
feed.
interesting there on your far right, just behind the accident there. So there are dogs on the scene. It'll be interesting to see if they deploy those animals.
And as you can see, of course, the vehicle not capable of being driven away at this point, but that vehicle's at this point is completely surrounded. He might as well just give up. I mean, it's just inevitable.
We get a lot of car chases out of California just because they have a helicopter.
Hours and hours, and they sit in there. But
where they cover a lot of car chases. And there's a lot of people.
To the car, they also have SWAT that could come out eventually if it gets too lengthy of a time. But also when those canines somehow get in there, just interesting, the canine wouldn't be able to get in with the door, so they would have to approach. But again, that's the scary part here, is that we don't know if this suspect is armed. And unfortunately, Rich is not connected with us here. This has been a little spotty. This started around 1:30. We're being told near the 10 freeway. He headed on to residential streets in Diamond Bar and Pomona. Erratic driving, likely threw a dog from the front seat, the driver's side. And as we're looking at these live images here, we had been discussing the firefighters and ambulance. The EMS looks like they've now arrived, but the officers are going to try to keep them at a safe distance, just to check out to make sure everything's okay. They'll probably park and then walk over.
Yeah, they actually took the driver of the other vehicle. They actually took him in the other direction. So somehow you're gonna have to get an ambulance on the other side to check him out. But now it's just a waiting game, and like to say the hard part's over. At least the most. And you can't even really say the most dangerous part's over. As crazy as he was driving, because the fact that as erratic as he was driving, and there's the canine. So they may be getting ready to deploy.
That is a large dog.
The dog, yeah.
Yeah, again, a lot of times, and Rich, you can speak to this as well, the mental state of these suspects. Officers always take that into consideration, especially at the end of the pursuit. Like Glenn mentioned, sometimes this is the most dangerous time, right?
Absolutely. They can't see what's in the vehicle. This, as far as this driver is concerned, he's not even communicating back. It looks like we haven't seen him move for several minutes now, so we're not.
Whoa!
What appears to be a non-lethal round into the windshield so that they could break the window, so they could not only get his attention or see if he's even conscious, but an easier way for them.
I believe he's awake now.
See, they're using the canine here to show that they mean business and that he needs to come out on his own, or they will likely send that canine. I say that, but I guess I will say that I have
said it before.
A canine.
Police employing dogs is animal abuse.
fully capable of doing that. But it looks like this officer or this suspect doesn't want anything to do with that dog.
They are so close to him, Rich. The vicinity of them, like,
are.
and like if he has a gun, like he could take out 4 people right now.
What?
Well, okay, so he's opening the door here now.
I think she's got like a bloodlust.
He's bleeding from the head, so that happened likely during the collision with that red vehicle here. And officers still making commands. You can see that dog is barking.
Well, the station's helicopter is already like out and about and everything. It's just like, they're trafficking shit helicopter. Because it's LA.
We saw that airbag that was deployed. We don't know if there's any other damage in the cab of that truck that's preventing him from getting out, or if he has any sort of leg injuries or anything like that. But it looks like he has shown both hands here, showing, letting the officers know that he's not holding anything in his hands, but now he brings him back down. So,
oh God, he is indeed bleeding.
The officer's going to make an approach, and they will likely pull him out from the cab of the truck here.
He had broke legs.
Okay. They're going to hold the canine back as officers have now made it to the driver's side door, and they'll try and pull him out. But again, we don't know if he's injured, if he was even able to get out on his own.
I don't think he could.
Or if
oh God, look at the way his legs are.
But it looks like they're now getting him out one way or another.
Oh Jesus.
Well, even if he's injured, it looks like he's still resisting.
No, his legs are broke.
Well, he's not quick to get on his feet, that's for sure. So they put the cuffs on him. They'll take him down to one of these rescue ambulances that are here at the location. They will evaluate him and take him away.
Get that man an ambulance.
No matter which agency will get him first, but there's CHP here as well as Rialto PD, where we believe
this is the LAPD.
Originated,
but I don't know which department it is. It's like there's multiple.
Now,
it might have been the Pomona
71
Police Department.
Bleeding
the LA County Sheriff.
After that crash, and it looks like they're going to turn him on his side, and they're going to get him basically secured so that the fire department
Dolly finger pardon.
Make their way onto the scene here. And
I love your name.
Get this guy the treatment that he needs for now, but he will shortly be out.
I don't know about Democrats, but this dude's totally fucked.
Well, the good news is they've got him out of the vehicle.
His leg was completely bent the fuck around.
Silver pickup.
He was bleeding out of his head. I don't think he was resisting. I don't think he was capable of complying.
Sprayed some graffiti somewhere and then took off and was chased all over the place in the Pomona area. And,
so he sprayed some graffiti. The man looked 40.
No explanation for that. As Lou said, he was jerking the steering wheel. I thought at one point maybe he was like fighting with somebody that said, let's stop this. But maybe it was just something to do with the animal and
or his mental state.
Yeah, and then he did hit the front
end of get him an ambulance.
A white van. We saw him turning on a street. Didn't hit it that hard. Didn't look like there was a lot of damage. But then a few moments later, he slammed head on into this the red car that's also down there. We saw that driver taken out of the car.
He's walking it off.
Luckily, he walked away. Now being checked out by medical personnel, maybe being taken to the hospital. And now we've got this agitated suspect. Officers finally pulling him out of the
agitated.
It looks like he's still resisting.
Yeah.
What?
And as you mentioned, we also saw that bed from the ambulance. They'll probably roll that over and somehow get him up into that and get him the treatment that he needs. And Rich Prickett, thank you for bringing this to us, and we appreciate you sticking around. We are going to send you back to Off the Clock right now, but we will be back at 3 p.m. We hope you can join us.
I wonder what Off the Clock is. Holy shit. All right, if you're watching on Twitch, you're going to get commercial break. When we come back, we're going to find out what that news be doing. Fucking the dude that killed Tupac apparently, or is going to be on trial for killing Tupac, had like a meltdown in court. We're going to go over that. We might go over the YSL, the Young Thug case in Atlanta. It has a new judge now. Testimony from the FBI director today in front of the House. The Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, addressed a joint session. All that and a lot freaking more on the other side of the commercial break. You're going to get the 3 minutes out of the way, and then when we come back, we're going to find out what that news be doing. Yeah, let's get high. Nathan, I'm guilty of it. Good night, Sky Comet. Mwah, love you. Light one up, tip one back. In a strictly platonic way, do I love you? Because I know your asexual ass don't go that way. I know, Flash bringing it up over here. Only time he wears a suit is to applaud genocide. Netanyahu can't get his bicycle shorts. No. Yes, what an absolute disappointment this man has turned out to be. And look who he's sitting next to. Kyrsten Sinema, Joe Manchin. I do believe he will be the two to the right. Sinema and Manchin are exiting the Senate. It does look like we're getting Ruben Gallo to replace Kyrsten Sinema, and that is a much needed improvement. Joe Manchin, we're getting a Republican. However, it is the infinitely more entertaining Jim Justice Gallego. Thank you. Gallego. I am very bad at pronunciations, and I apologize. 20 seconds until everybody rejoins us. Dustin, good evening. Purgatorus, welcome in. Everybody came just in time. We're getting ready to find out what that news be doing. The first hour we did Biden's speech and a car chase from like 6 months ago. Everybody back from commercial break. The only time Senator John Fetterman wears a suit to go and applaud Netanyahu in front of the joint session of Congress earlier today. What was I doing? Oh, yes. Netanyahu appeared earlier today. Oh, fuck. Oh, I thought C-SPAN was live. C-SPAN is not live. I was like, oh, shit, are we missing calls? We were missing C-SPAN calls. I would be very, very disappointed. Fair enough, clinically. I was on board with John Fetterman. How naive I am. Protesters made life for Benjamin Netanyahu a living hell while he was here.
Bottom of the hour now, and we are following this breaking news in Washington, D.C.
Major protests.
Yeah, but clinically hates everybody.
Whose speech to Congress.
You got to take that into consideration. Clinically hates everybody. So if clinically turns out to be right, it's because clinically hates everybody anyway. So of course it's going to turn out that many people think, okay, most.
So let's go back to NBC News reporter Gary Grumbacher. He's been tracking these protests all day.
Gary,
you want to start by
what?
About tools being used by law enforcement today. They say they used pepper spray, not tear gas. Last time we spoke with you, Gary, we also heard some loud bangs. I understand what those sounds were. Talk us through that and just generally what the environment is like right now.
It's calmed down significantly since we last spoke, guys. What those bangs were that we last spoke were flash bangs set up by protesters. We saw a number of things happen in the immediate aftermath once we got off the air with you. Cops came into the area and they pulled out a number of people. It seems as if those folks were arrested, those protesters were arrested. And then they also confiscated a number of wagons filled with a ton of different materials in black bags. So the cops were in possession of those wagons. It seems like whatever they were using to create the flashbangs was in those wagons. The cops are now in possession of those. And I just want to give you a sense of what this looks like right now. We are in front of Washington, D.C.'s Union Station, the big train station, one of the biggest on the East Coast. And the front of it has been entirely taken over by thousands of pro-Palestinian, anti-Netanyahu protesters out here. You see folks standing on the podium here near the statues, and we see the flags. Tony, if you can pan up to the flags, have been the American flags.
The flags.
By Palestinian flags. So that is certainly notable as well, guys.
Yeah.
Gary, I want to note that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has wrapped up his speech to members of Congress. He did reference the protesters, calling them, quote, Iran's useful idiots, being very critical of these protesters. I wonder what you're hearing from protesters there about the message that they're trying to send.
Well, they're trying to send a message that they would like this completely to end. Ceasefire now is something they keep repeating, and they want to bring all of the hostages home. Now, something else is that these folks aren't listening to Benjamin Netanyahu. They have no interest in what Benjamin Netanyahu has to say at the Capitol. They, frankly, didn't want him to be here in the first place. So when I spoke to several protesters, asked if they were tuning in to listen, they laughed in my face and acted as if, why would I be asking such a silly question of them? So that is particularly interesting. Here's what a couple of protesters we talked to earlier today had to say.
And Gary, we don't have that sound at the moment, but since you're out there talking with protesters, seeing the law enforcement presence, talk to us about what the police presence looks like right now. I know earlier it was pretty strong.
Yeah, actually, let me turn the camera around and show you what the police presence looks like. We have folks from the Metropolitan Police Department, the U.S. Park Police, in serious tactical gear here. They have bikes. They have what appear to be pepper spray guns ready to be deployed if they need to be deployed. So there are hundreds and hundreds of folks just like these surrounding Massachusetts Avenue, right in the heart of Washington, D.C., just 2 blocks from the U.S. Capitol.
All right, Gary Grumbacher for us at Union Station, the main train station in Washington.
Gary Grumbacher.
Thanks for watching.
Mox, good evening.
Breaking
Lester, shut up. The protests apparently went all the way from Tel Aviv to here in the U.S. Yeah, Netanyahu getting protested all the way through his trip.
The Prime Minister of the State of Israel.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was met with standing ovations at his address to a joint session of the U.S. Congress on Wednesday, while outside, Capitol Police deployed pepper spray on protesters opposed to the visit by the foreign leader.
America and Israel must stand together.
Netanyahu described the U.S. and Israel as allies in a joint fight against the threat posed by Iran and its proxy.
They're front row, and look how enthusiastic they are.
Forces across the Middle East. And he thanked U.S. President Joe Biden for
Venus, I tell you good evening.
Following the October 7th attack by Hamas gunmen from the Gaza Strip.
And he came to Israel to stand with us during our darkest hour, a visit that will never be forgotten.
But 10 months after that attack, in which the Palestinian militants killed 1,200 people, took more than 200 hostages.
I think I did the last one on purpose.
Fighting rages on in the Gaza Strip, where Palestinian health officials say Israel's retaliatory operation has so far killed more than 39,000. Dozens of U.S. lawmakers boycotted his speech. Democratic Representative Rashida Tlaib, who is Palestinian, sat in the gallery holding a sign declaring Netanyahu.
Thank you. My wafu.
Outside echo the pressure the Israeli leader faces at home. Israelis for months have been demanding he resign. Others are urging him to secure the release of more than 100 captives still believed held in Gaza. Ahead of his visit to Washington, families of the hostages pressed the prime minister to stay and work toward a potential.
I don't think it was hundreds. I think it was tens.
Netanyahu told U.S. lawmakers talks were underway at the moment that could lead to a breakthrough.
I think it was in double digits.
We're actively engaged in intensive efforts to secure their release, and I'm confident that these efforts can succeed. Some of them are taking place right now.
And he also described his end game after fighting had concluded.
Gaza should have a civilian administration run by Palestinians who do not seek to destroy.
Oh, he's got such a punchable face.
Too much to ask.
A senior Hamas official said Netanyahu's speech showed the prime minister did not intend to clinch a ceasefire deal. Netanyahu is scheduled to meet with Biden this trip, as well as with Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump.
Yeah, he's just doing it for PR, but also, wasn't he born in Pennsylvania? I don't think he's Israeli. He's just a Jewish man. Oh, is he from Brooklyn? It might be New York. I thought he was Pennsylvania. I want to highlight my wafu more.
Blood libels against the Jewish state come from people who wear fancy silk robes and speak in lofty tones about law and justice. Here's a case in point. The prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has shamefully accused Israel of deliberately starving the people of Gaza. This is utter, complete.
It is Representative Rashida Tlaib. The International Criminal Court is correct.
More than 40,000 aid trucks to enter Gaza. That's 500,000 tons of food. And that's more than 3,000 calories for every man, woman, and child in Gaza. If there are Palestinians in Gaza who aren't getting enough food, it's not because Israel is blocking it, it's because Hamas is stealing it.
Most people boycotted. I think most people who are pro-Palestinian boycotted the speech.
So much for that lie, but here's another. The ICC prosecutor accuses Israel of deliberately targeting civilians.
Because you did.
What in God's...
And you continue to. You continue to target civilians. I feel like I have to at least cover part of his speech. He defended the siege on Gaza during his speech earlier today. Let's listen to just a snippet.
For the News Hour, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu defended the war in Gaza today in a speech to a joint meeting of Congress amid protests and partisan politics that led dozens of Democrats to boycott the speech.
Netanyahu disparaged protesters who clashed with police outside the U.S. Capitol and blamed Hamas for the tens of thousands of Palestinians killed in Israel's 9-month war in Gaza since the October 7th terrorist attack. Nick Schifrin reports.
His Excellency Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of...
Excellency?
No other
My God.
Delivered as many congressional addresses or received as much State of the Union style applause, but no other invited foreign leader has also driven such division. Outside Congress today, protesters burned Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in effigy and spray-painted "Hamas is coming." At one point, police pepper-sprayed demonstrators after they became violent. Dozens of Democrats boycotted, and some attending did not stand. But Republican lawmakers and many Democrats showered their support as Netanyahu portrayed Iran as a mutual enemy.
When Israel acts to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons that could destroy Israel and threaten every American city, every city that you come from, we're not only protecting ourselves, we're protecting you.
As Israeli soldiers continue to battle Hamas fighters, Netanyahu has resisted endorsing a plan for the day after the war. Today, he reiterated a vision that U.S. officials have previously described as unrealistic.
Gaza should have a civilian administration run by Palestinians who do not seek to destroy Israel. That's not too much to ask. It's a fundamental thing that we have a right to demand and to receive.
There's enormous pressure on Netanyahu to agree to a deal that would release Israeli hostages. Congressional police detained some of the hostages' family members today who rose during the speech to demand he, quote, seal the deal. But today, Netanyahu announced no breakthrough and once again vowed to release all the hostages.
We're actively engaged in intensive efforts to secure their release, and I'm confident that these efforts can succeed. Some of them are taking place right now. Since 1967,
Netanyahu has spoken to Congress before in 1996, 2011, and 2015 when he criticized President Obama's Iran nuclear deal.
It doesn't block Iran's path to the bomb. It paves Iran's path to the bomb.
But today, he praised President Biden.
And he came to Israel to stand with us during our darkest hour, a visit that will never be forgotten.
As for the protesters, Netanyahu denounced them as anti-Semites doing the bidding of Hamas and disparaged.
No. You can't denounce all the protesters as anti-Semites. Allow me to hit you with this one. Former Israeli military chiefs of staff and Mossad directors tell Congress that Netanyahu poses an existential threat to the state of Israel because he is now fighting the war in Gaza for himself, not Israeli security interests. God damn, I might have to save this and pull it up. Hold on a second. Because I'm going to have to zoom in on it. Because I can't see. This was the letter submitted to Congress by a bipartisan group of leaders who have served the state of Israel for decades in the defense establishment, industry, academic, legal, and public service sectors. We write to you with grave concerns about Prime Minister Netanyahu's visit to the United States and the damage it may do to our joint objectives. This visit prioritizes his personal political survivability over our shared interests. Congress will be hosting a leader without a mandate and one who is facing prosecution for major crimes. He remains unwilling to conceptualize a post-war plan and continues destabilizing the national security of both Israel and the U.S. We cannot overstate this. Prime Minister Netanyahu poses an existential threat to the state of Israel. He has no clear strategic objectives for the war in Gaza, no plan for the day after, nor a strategy for how to deal with the existential threat of Iran. For decades, he has been inciting Israelis against each other, damaging our national security, our national social fabric, dramatically harming our defense capabilities, eroding our economy, and devastating our international standing. Further, Netanyahu severely harms the U.S. national security interests through his approach to this war, which adversely impacts American policy in the Middle East and beyond, and further endangers Israel. We thank you for your continued support and urge you to remain stalwart allies of Israel and encourage Prime Minister Netanyahu to put the safety, security, and future of Israel and the Israeli-U.S. strategic relations before his own political and personal interests. So, former IDF Chief of Staff, former Director of the Mossad, former Defense Minister and IDF Chief of Staff, former Director of the Ministry of Defense, former Chairman of Rafael Advanced Defense Systems, former IDF Deputy Chief of Staff, former Division Director of Mossad, former Division Director of Mossad. You can't call these people anti-Semites now, can you? Nor can you call Representative Jerry Nadler an anti-Semite, because he be a Jewish man. Let's hear from Jewish man Jerry Nadler.
Congressman and ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee, Jerry Nadler. Congressman, thank you for joining us. I know you were inside that room listening to the Prime Minister's speech. What did you think of it?
I thought it was fundamentally dishonest. He says he wants a peace, but his political interest is to keep the war going as long as possible, because he knows that as soon as the war is over, he'll have to face a commission of inquiry as to why he was telling Qatar to arm Hamas before the election, and why he ignored warnings from the military about the attack on October 7th, which they had warnings about a few hours earlier, and why, for that matter, it took 12 hours for tanks to come 60 miles from the West Bank to the kibbutzim on the Gaza border. And he knows he'll have to answer these questions, and his interest is to keep the war going as long as possible, and that's what he's doing. And when he talks about the hostages, I don't believe he has any interest.
Well, anti-Semitic in the context of just by criticizing Israel
of the war, and that's why you see hostage negotiations, and he keeps putting new conditions, he keeps putting new objections to the hostage deal, and that's why you see hundreds of thousands of people in Israel protesting against him.
You've called him the worst leader in Jewish history since the Maccabean king who invited the Romans into Jerusalem over 2,100 years ago, 2,100 years ago.
Yes, I did.
You just talked about this speech right now and his own self-interest, and you argue his lack of interest in getting any of the hostages.
He went biblical on his ass.
Do you think that there can be a negotiated peace with Benjamin Netanyahu still as prime minister?
Probably not. He will do anything he can to stop a negotiated peace. And he was fundamentally dishonest today also when he came out, about the terribleness of assassination. Back in 1994, he was leading people saying, kill Rabin, just before Rabin was assassinated.
I want to ask you about the Democratic Party. We saw the divide. We literally saw it in that room. We saw some Democrats standing and applauding. We saw others sitting and maybe lightly applauding or not applauding at all. We saw Rashida Tlaib holding up a sign that said war criminal. And we saw a lot of empty seats because a number of Democrats chose not to go to this speech. What is it like within the Democratic Party right now on the issue of Israel?
Harris did not preside over this.
Obviously, there's divided sentiment. I would have not gone, except I thought I should go in honor of the state of Israel, but certainly not in support of its prime minister or his policies. But obviously, sentiment in the Democratic Party is quite divided. And Rashida was expressing the sentiments of her Palestinian constituents in Dearborn.
How does the Democratic Party campaign with this issue?
He was expressing the sentiments of a lot of us.
VP Kamala Harris tackles it. She's going to have to as she goes forward.
Well, I think she's going to express general...
Don, good evening. Welcome.
She's going to be somewhat less supportive than President...
Let's find out what that news be doing.
And I think that a large part of the Democratic Party, especially the younger elements of the party, the younger members of the party want that. And that's what I think will happen.
The relationship between Israel and the United States feels like it's at a crossroads. As we were talking about a moment ago, it's always been a bipartisan relationship, or it had historically been a bipartisan relationship, and now it feels like Benjamin Netanyahu is, more firmly aligning himself with Republicans. Can it go back to being a bipartisan relationship?
Well, Netanyahu's aligning himself with Republicans is not new. Remember, back in 2015, he came here to oppose President Obama's policy of the nuclear deal with Iran, and he was quite consciously taking the Republican position against the Obama administration. The stupidity of this manifested itself in the fact that, well, when Trump got into office, he persuaded Trump to withdraw from the nuclear deal, which was ridiculous, and now we know that Iran has enriched a lot of uranium and is on the cusp of becoming a nuclear power, where that deal was and would have continued to stop them. But I do not understand why he was opposed to the deal.
But do you think the party can,
counterproductive.
Historically speaking, before 2015, before he started to align himself with Republicans, the relationship between Israel and the U.S. was bipartisan. Aaron David Miller was just explaining that's what made it so strong. That's what tied these two countries together. Can it go back to being bipartisan?
I hope it can, but I don't know whether it can or not.
Just because I have you, and I'm about to change topics to talk about the vice president and her campaign, who would you like to see on the ticket?
Oh, there are any number of good people you can make a case for. Mark Kelly as a
Team Bashir
astronaut, the husband of a victim of gun violence, an anti-gun activist, and an astronaut, and a U.S. senator from a swing state of Arizona. Josh Shapiro, a very popular governor from the very swing state.
Man, that's the right decision. We're gonna talk about the presidential race here in a second. We're not done talking about Israel, as at least 6 people were arrested at the Capitol earlier today.
On the streets of Washington, police using pepper spray, a crowd enraged. Many here believe Washington has rolled out the red carpet for a war crime. Thousands took to the streets calling for a ceasefire in Gaza, some accusing their government of being complicit in what they see as a genocide.
We are not armed. We don't have anything. They are spraying us.
Speaker, the Prime Minister of the State of Israel.
But on Capitol Hill, the focus of the ire outside got a standing ovation inside. Benjamin Netanyahu lauded the perfect welcome for a man trying to revive his international image. There were, though, plenty of political no-shows and subtle signs of deep division amongst Democrats.
Benjamin Netanyahu.
Israel's Prime Minister tried to start with some grace and gratitude.
I thank President Biden for his heartfelt support for Israel after the savage attack on October 7th. When we stand together, something very simple happens. We win, they lose.
But he also didn't hold back on his American critics.
Yet incredibly, many anti-Israel protesters, many choose to stand with evil. They stand with Hamas. These protesters stand with them. They should be ashamed of themselves.
Wow.
It was the Republicans who invited him here, daring Democrats to shun an ally, a leader some call an obstacle to peace.
Rarely has such a divisive political figure been so honoured by America's political class, but this is an awkward, delicate and potentially problematic test for Democrats. Progressives in the party are deeply unhappy about America's support for the war in Gaza, and soon the people in this crowd will take their opinions to the ballot box.
Many Democrats want the US to stop arming Israel for the families of some of the hostages, America needs to back away, and fast.
How do you feel about Netanyahu's visit to Washington?
And we're saying here to the United States, to the government, to the Congress, to the Senate, Netanyahu is our problem. Ban him.
I don't understand what he's doing here. John only doing PR for himself because he's looking for his own political survival.
He should stay home, bring them home, seal the deal, and end the war.
Washington has opted to host a hugely polarizing man at a time of massive upheaval, providing a stage for yet more fury, and it could well backfire. Cordelia Lynch, Sky News, Washington.
This morning, newly released video reveals what took place.
I've been muted the whole goddamn time. Netanyahu not the only person speaking on Capitol Hill today. FBI Director Christopher Wray testified in front of Congress on the same day that we got the release of new body camera footage in the shooting of former President Donald Trump.
This morning, newly released video reveals what took place moments after the attempted assassination of former President Trump.
So this is the guy that
Yes, that they sent yes, Beaver County sniper scene and sent the pictures out. This is him.
Okay.
The police body cam video posted by Senator Chuck Grassley shows officers and Secret Service agents on the roof of the building approaching the body of the shooter, Thomas Matthew Crooks. His legs and the rifle visible in the video.
Rifle's right there, obviously.
Got it.
Crooks' father is now speaking out for the first time since the shooting.
Release a statement when our legal counsel advises us to do so. Until then, we have no comment. We just want to try to take care of ourselves right now. So please, give us our space.
It comes as the Pennsylvania Police Commissioner revealed new details about the shooting in testimony on Capitol Hill. Colonel Christopher Paris says two local officers left a building that overlooks the roof where Crooks took his shots to look for a suspicious individual.
Wow.
That individual turned out to be Crooks. Paris also revealed that Crooks was on the building for about 3 minutes before opening.
They're going to face all kinds of legal battles. All fucking, they definitely need a lawyer for all the shit that's gonna happen. Because they, the Crooks estate could be sued by a lot of different entities. They're gonna have to answer questions in front of cops and the FBI, Secret Service.
Fire, and he believes Crooks shot 8 times into the rally.
I believe that the number is 8 casings have been recovered. Okay.
It was the dad's gun, but apparently, they didn't even know that he had it. As I understand it, when they noticed the gun was missing, they called him to see if he was at a range. And as soon as they heard about the shooting, they contacted law enforcement. So the parents seem totally, innocent in this situation.
So yesterday, embattled Secret Service Director Kim Cheadle announced her resignation in the wake of her fiery hearing.
You're full of today.
Cheadle was under intense pressure from Republicans and Democrats, angered by the agency's failure to prevent the assassination attempt. Last night, President Trump said he expected Cheadle's resignation and criticized the Secret Service's investigation into the motive of the shooter.
They haven't gotten to the bottom of that yet. It should have.
No, I don't know. I don't think we know that he was a Trump supporter. The dad was the Trump supporter. The Trump campaign identified him as a highly likely Trump supporter, but we don't know that he actually was. And I would venture to guess that he might have been like a groyper, a Nick Fuentes type that thought that, Trump was controlled by, the Jews. That kind of deal. That's possible. We don't know exactly.
Happened, I would say, within an hour, not 9 days, 10 days. So she was.
Neighbors said they saw Trump signs at different points.
That she left.
The Secret Service is recommending to Trump's campaign that he not hold outdoor rallies. And while there are rallies planned in the coming days, none are scheduled to be held outdoors.
It's all speculation. As long as we know we're having fun, speculating on what might have been going through his head, what could have been the motivation. As long as we keep it in context, and we know that we're just having fun speculating. That's all we doing.
FBI Director Christopher Wray testified on Capitol Hill Wednesday about the investigation into the assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump. His testimony comes days after lawmakers criticized now former Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle in a congressional hearing for her agency's security failures before, during, and after the shooting. She resigned less than 24 hours later. While FBI Director Wray didn't divulge too many details about the investigation, he did offer some new information about the shooter.
Analysis of a laptop that the investigation ties to the shooter reveals that on July 6th, he did a Google search for, quote, how far away was Oswald from Kennedy? And so that's a search that obviously is significant in terms of his state of mind. That is the same day that it appears that he registered for the Butler rally.
For more on this, let's bring in Anna Schechter. She's the senior coordinating producer for CBS News Crime and Public Safety Unit. And in addition to that new piece of information, Director Wray revealed a few other details about the gunman. What else did we learn?
Well, we learned that the very next day after that chilling Google search, he went to the rally site and cased it. He spent about 20 minutes there.
There's a drone.
And then, again, the morning of the rally, we learned he went and spent 70 minutes there. So he was really spending a lot of time figuring out, and probably all of that planning helped him get up onto that roof, which is, I think, the big question for everyone watching is how could he have evaded so much law enforcement? But to me, what was really interesting is we learned around 4 p.m., just a couple of hours before that shooting, he flew a drone for 11 minutes over a field near where the rally site was. He was live streaming it, so he was watching in real time the images that the drone was capturing. So he was getting a real clear picture of the area from above, possibly including the roof on top of where that he climbed on and where he took that shot.
And how did the director characterize the search for motive that we've been talking about so much since this attempted assassination? Have they found one? What's the search been like? Did he talk about that?
He did. It was interesting. He talked about how few people were in the contacts list in his phone, fewer than you would expect. That other, a 20-year-old.
How many would I expect?
He talked about his few interactions in real life with other people. So he really described a loner, which is what we were supposing.
I expected 3 or 4.
Level of detail in the testimony today. We also learned a few other things, like he purchased the gun from his father.
Exactly, Flash. Policing is mostly security theater.
Which was interesting. And a few other details about what he was...
Quesadilla, good evening.
...leading up to it. There was a question about this ladder. That was pretty much debunked. He purchased a ladder, but the ladder that he bought was never found on the premises. We do know that he brought a backpack and a bike, and he was sitting at a picnic table. We've learned that from local law enforcement.
Picnic table.
And local law enforcement was concerned enough about him that they took a photo of him. One of the snipers stationed in the building left the building to go look for him and lost sight of him. So that was all in the confusion of those minutes leading up.
Wow.
Lining up on the roof with the gun.
Democratic Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal of Washington raised concerns about the political neutrality of the FBI. What was she getting at?
It's a great question. There was a lot of political theater that played out over hours and hours of testimony today, where several Republicans were asking, how can we trust you to conduct this investigation? There was a lot of anger about January 6th amongst some of the lawmakers, and they were questioning the tactics that the FBI used in that
This is a Trump appointee.
what she was doing, I think, is establishing
Man's a Republican.
the FBI is, in fact, neutral. So you saw
Appointed by Trump.
And political theater today.
Not unfamiliar to those kinds of hearings. Anna Schechter, thank you very much.
Anna Sheggy. They did a pretty thorough job covering Ray's testimony, except one of the most interesting things that came out of that testimony today was Donald Trump actually hit by a bullet.
So I'm not clear exactly where you said there were 8 shell casings on the roof, so 8 bullets were fired. We obviously know that Mr. Comparatori lost his life. Two other rally goers were injured, seriously injured, and then the one that hit President Trump. Does that account for, were some of these individuals hit multiple times? Where did all 8 bullets go, is I guess my question.
I don't have that in front of me. I'm happy to circle back and get that to you. It's assuming we have that information yet. As I said, I think with respect to former President Trump, there's some question about whether or not it's a bullet or shrapnel that that hit his ear. So it's conceivable. Although, as I sit here right now, I don't know whether that bullet, in addition to causing the grazing, could have also landed somewhere else. But I believe we've accounted for all of the shots and the cartridges. So let us get that.
It's my understanding that the very first one was the one that hit the president. Is that the very first shot, or is that not accurate?
I don't, as I sit here right now, I don't know the answer to that. I believe we know the answer to that. I just don't have it in front of me.
Okay. Is there any chance I mean, it seems to me that this bad guy, this shooter, was focused on President Trump.
Bad guy.
But you indicated that he purchased 50 rounds of ammunition, I believe, earlier that day. Do you have any indications thus far in your investigation that
Andy, good afternoon or good evening.
Assassinate the former president, he was also looking to do a lot more damage to other individuals?
That's a hard question to answer. What I would say is I agree with you that his preparatory activity is what we've seen so far, the limited information that has been relevant and interesting about his preparatory activity does seem to be that he had settled on former President Trump as a target and this rally as his moment to try to take a shot. But in addition to the 50 rounds, of course, you have the issue of these explosive devices.
Right.
And so what else he may have had in mind is something that I think is very much of an open question.
So and this is not going to happen because here's the thing is Trump would have to spend money. Trump would have to spend money in order to do this, but the Secret Service has urged Trump to scrap his outdoor rallies. The Secret Service is pleading with Donald Trump's campaign team to stop holding rallies outdoors in order to avoid any further danger from would-be assassins. Sources familiar with the matter confirm the Secret Service has raised red flags about events like the one Trump held in Butler, Pennsylvania, and his team is taking the note, agreeing to keep things indoors for now. We're told Trump's team is now on the hunt for indoor venues like basketball arenas to pack in the crowds after previously favoring outdoor spots for their size and lower costs. Rallies are still on the calendar, but so far none are scheduled for outdoor venues. The Washington Post first reported the Secret Service request right after the agency's director, Kimberly Cheadle, resigned her gig on the heels of Capitol grilling about botching Trump's detail in Pennsylvania, where Thomas Matthew Crooks took a shot at DT. We have more video. I think this is the one we saw before. This is him on the roof.
I hope he's turning this way. Be careful.
Ross, get over here!
I hope he's turning this way. Be careful, guys.
I love the dude, like, he's down. You see, they blurred him out over there. Not really talking about Trump's assassination attempt anymore. It was weird because wasn't it in the... Hold on. Let's watch this before we talk about that. This clip has been making the rounds.
You can do it, baby. I love you so much. And it's bad news. Bad things are happening. Mom, I'm sorry. Mom, I didn't do it. Paul. You can do it, baby. I love you so much. And it's bad news. Bad things are happening. Mom, I'm sorry. Mom, I didn't do it. Paul. You.
What was that? What the fuck was that? Here's the thing, is Trump apparently said that disabled people should just die. This is, I can't get into it because of the New York Times. I don't know, is this old news? The new one to me in a new memoir. Fred C. Trump III claims his uncle Donald J. Trump made cruel and racist comments. Nephew says Trump suggested some disabled people should just die. Apparently the quote that I saw said that the uncle couldn't recognize anyone, so they should just ship him down to Florida so he could just die. We haven't been talking about the, and if I, one might guess that Trump had some sort of mental handicap based on the video I showed you earlier. I hate using that as like some sort of a punchline or a dig. It feels dirty. People aren't really talking about the Trump assassination anymore. I think that's what spurred Elon Musk to promise to donate $45 million a month or something like that, a week, to Donald Trump's campaign, which apparently he's not going to do anymore.
Mr. Musk, are you still going to donate to Trump? Do you still donate $45 million? I'm sorry?
At no point did I say that I was donating $45 million a month to Trump. That was a fiction made up by the Wall Street Journal.
Mr. Musk, are you still going to donate to Trump? Do you still donate $45 million? I'm sorry?
At no point did I say that I was donating $45 million a month to Trump. That was a fiction made up by the Wall Street Journal.
Apparently Trump thought he said that he was going to donate $45 million to Trump. Do you think we just fell out of a coconut tree? You want to see Fox News get racist? Because apparently they can get really fucking racist in the mornings. Maybe they hadn't had their morning coffee yet. Vice President Kamala Harris speaking today at her her sorority, I believe. It's like a black sorority.
To President Biden, who is muddling his way through speeches. People know he couldn't go more than
better, right?
Yep, couldn't go more than 15 minutes. She's very good on the prompter. No one even doubted that. She had 3,000 people there. Why are they there? A lot of them have to do with, hey, I'm a Democrat. I thought we were going to go down in flames. Now we have a shot. But the problem with Kamala Harris, number one, she has not had her record exploited heavily because people thought and marginalized her. Even in the Democratic Party, they said, wow, what a bad choice Joe Biden made. Number two is she hasn't sat down for an interview. When she sits down in an interview and says, do you want to fund ICE? Where do you stand on Medicare for all? Why didn't you show up? The most recent decision, already you got a question. She will not show up for the Prime Minister's joint session of Congress today. She'd rather address in the summer a sorority, a college sorority, like she can't get out of that. So that's her decision, and that's her decision to back up the protesters.
And how about the border? When they ask her about the border, I haven't been to Europe either. Remember, she said that.
He said a colored sorority. He said a colored sorority.
Decision, already you got a question. She will not show up for the Prime Minister's joint session of Congress today. She'd rather address in the summer a sorority, a college sorority, like she can't get out of that. So that's her decision, and that's her decision to back up the protesters.
And how about the border? When they ask her about the border, I haven't been to Europe either. Remember, she said that. She's the border czar. She didn't go to the president. She didn't go to the border, and now we're learning that two of the border chiefs, the last two border chiefs, she hasn't talked to.
Obviously, you.
So apparently Fox News did not get the memo sent out by Republican leaders. I can't believe this is an actual thing. Republican leaders urge colleagues to steer clear of racist and sexist attacks on Harris. Republican leaders are warning party members against using overtly racist and sexist attacks against Vice President Kamala Harris as they and former President Donald Trump's campaign scramble to adjust to the reality of a new Democratic rival. At a closed-door meeting of House Republicans on Tuesday, National Republican Congressional Committee Chairman Michael Hudson urged lawmakers to stick to criticizing Harris for her role in the Biden-Harris administration policies. This election will be about policies, not personalities, said House Speaker Mike Johnson. This is not personal with regard to Kamala Harris and her ethnicity or her gender having nothing to do with this whatsoever. Yeah. You know, I like those focus group clips. Talking to some voters. Let's see what they got to say here.
For President Biden being in office in this condition, who deserves the blame?
His close staff. They work with him every day.
So I think that's what also makes me nervous about the Vice President Harris.
Yeah.
Talk about that a bit.
Really?
So yes, she's going to be in it, but she also helped keep him in where he's at right now. And if he really is as bad as what they've been saying, I think if he steps down as president and she steps into the presidency before the end of his term, it almost makes me question a little bit more why it didn't happen sooner. She's worked with him. She's been, to my understanding, with him daily, or at least a couple of days a week. Why hasn't this been brought to attention if she's willing to hide that type of information once she's in office?
I think they're swing voters, yeah.
Who do you blame?
Wisconsin swing voters. This is on Morning Joe. Now, Harris did speak today at a black sorority a day after nailing a speech in Wisconsin. Media Winch, good evening.
In this moment, I believe we face a choice between two different visions for our nation. One focused on the future, the other focused on the past. And with your support, I am fighting for our nation's future.
Serious, sir.
Across our nation, we are witnessing a full-on assault on hard-fought, hard-won freedoms and rights. The freedom to vote, the freedom to be safe from gun violence, the freedom to live without fear of bigotry and hate, the freedom to love who you love openly and with pride, the freedom to learn and acknowledge our true and full history, and the freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government telling her what to do. We are not playing around. There's so much at stake in this moment. There's so much at stake. And again, then, in this moment, our nation, as it always has, is counting on you to energize, to organize, and to mobilize.
That was her today, speaking in front of her sorority. Ducky, good evening. She is apparently embracing the Charlie XCX brat motif. We are in for the Kamala Harris brat summer.
Has been seeing a surge in support on social media since she announced her presidential campaign earlier this week. The likely Democratic nominee has become the subject of several trends and viral videos, including those centered around her you think you just fell out of a coconut tree" quote, and Brat Summer, named after musical artist Charlie XCX's album. So for more on this, we want to...
I still haven't listened to it. I like Charlie.
In Studio 57, he's a content creator, an actor, TV host, and also participated in social media strategy sessions at the Biden
Dixie, too.
And will attend the Democratic National Convention next month. And what I like about talking to you is...
I give him a fire emoji on the grinder.
Growth has really evolved, and you've pivoted, which is what politicians have to learn how to do.
Yes.
But first and foremost, a meme conveys like a concept, an idea in a very simple, direct way. What does Brat Girl Summer convey?
Well, you know what's interesting is I think when you're thinking about...
Oh, he's totally on Grindr.
There is a generation gap. Because I can honestly say, like, when I saw it, I was like, I don't know what that means. You know what I mean? Like, when I think of a brat, I think of the Bratz dolls. Right. You know what I mean? So after research, I learned that what Charlie XCX is talking about is, like, kind of being a mess, but also just powering through it. And that's really what it means. You know what I mean? But I think the importance of memes, especially with how we use it in language, is just getting people activated and getting the conversation going.
Yeah. But I would think there's a fine line, because when I heard about Brat, I was like, I don't even understand it. Once someone explained it to me, why would you want to be associated with that when you're a politician, right? You should be in control all the time. So there's a fine line between success and kind of cringy, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yes, I would agree. But this is the way.
Back. That's weird. If you're watching this later, apparently we're having a issue with the live stream. I don't Restream says we're good. I'm not sure. I don't know what's going on. Are we good? I'll come back, hang out for a second. I kind of hate when shit like this happens because like somebody's listening to the podcast. They're like, it's fun for me. Stop doing the show. Everything looks good on my end. Restream says we're good. My apologies for that. I don't know what happened. There we go. The green light came back on. My apologies for that. I don't know what happened. Are we still on the same stream on relighting my fiber? Is that something I need to do? I need to relight my fiber? I have never messed with it whatsoever. I've noticed like it resets itself like once a week at like 3:30 in the morning, it seems. It's got like some sort of like, because if I'm up late enough, I notice like the internet goes out. I've never noticed it not be out. Awesome. Well, I'm glad everybody's back. No, like, I guess I should be thankful if you've noticed since I've been at this apartment, there's not been any internet issues whatsoever. It's because I got on the fiber optic, and that shit is like fucking magic. Boy, like, download a video game. It takes me less time to download a video game than usually it takes for the PlayStation to install it. Princess Kimberly, good evening. It used to take me like 2 hours to upload the podcast. It takes like 10 minutes now. Awesome. I'm glad we're back. I got hired to do some fucking video. Back from the past. I got hired to do some video. I need to get it done by midnight my time. It is 9:57 right now. Should be quick. Shouldn't take me long. So, like, I'll do another, like, 30 minutes with you guys. No. It's a pastor. He's been really cool to me. I've done a few different videos for him. I've agreed to do the videos for him and got them while I've been on stream. Yeah, let's move on. Let's do a few crime stories, and then we'll get out of here. See what else I got. Oh, is it commercial time? It's commercial time. Everybody, Twitch, take a commercial break. Get the 3 minutes out of the way, then we'll come back. We'll do a few crime stories. I promise I'll make it worth your while to stick around. 3 minutes. We'll be right back. And yeah, I should smoke some more. That's what I need to do. DJ Dub, you getting high with me? Your pants? Oh, turntables. Why did I think you were talking about pants? What is wrong with me? You're doing coke? Don't do coke. DJ Dub, don't do coke.
I was on crack.
Right.
I'm not an uppers guy. I'm glad everybody get high. Princess Kimberly, light one up, tip one back. I would always do. It was like a thing that we would do on special occasions. Like we got a couple of 8 balls and we went to the Bristol race. My brother, my dad. That was like the only thing I bonded with my dad over. My dad liked car racing. And I didn't necessarily like I like racing. Like I play racing games on video games and shit. Like I got Gran Turismo 6. Like fucking love that shit. And I was really into I built fucking model cars when I was a kid and shit like that. So like it was like the one thing I bonded with my dad over until we started doing drugs when I was an adult. So when I was like 19, we went to the Bristol day race. That might have been my first race. I've been to fucking 7 or 8 now. But we like had a couple of 8 balls, and me and my brother and like his buddy that was going with us, like we stayed up all night. My friend Jason was there with us. Battle of Possum might have been there, but I don't think he was. And like we stayed up all that long fucking partying, and then when my dad got there at like 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 or something like that, he decided he was gonna play catch up. So every time we were lining out lines, like he was lining out like a double sized line. I'm like, motherfucker, no, it's not our fault you didn't party with us last night. He was a greedy little bitch. And then like we're going. It's like it's spring, right? So it's like in March, I think, is when the Bristol Day race was. I don't know if it's still the same time, but it's like March, and it was like pleasant. It was like 65, 67, something like that. But like we're driving down, he is sweating profusely because we've been doing all this coke, and he is blasting the air conditioner. So I remember just sitting in the passenger seat, shivering. I'm like, goddamn, old man, fucking turn the air conditioner off. Memories of my dad. Of course, I've got the story of the time I got off early from work when I was the news director of 9 radio stations. And it was just a fucking calm day. I pre-recorded all my news. There wasn't all that news in that day. It was like a calm Tuesday, Thursday, something like that. I call up my buddy. It was a beautiful day. I remember it was so gorgeous. Probably like 67, 68. I call up my buddy and we get like maybe an 8 ball, maybe a gram, something. I don't even remember. A few grams. I don't fucking know what we did. We got us some coke. I'm doing coke with him in my apartment. I get the phone call that I gotta go cover a policeman that has gotten into a wreck and died. I had to go interview cops, high as fuck on coke. I don't do uppers because like I naturally bounce off the wall. So it's very rare. Like the few stories I can tell you, like when I was on meth and I was in a Mitch McConnell speech, those types of stories that I've got, like those are like the very few times I've done those drugs. The few stories I have. Apparently there was a standoff in Chicago earlier. I still need to get more high. Drug tier list. Well, the top tier is by far hallucinogens. LSD and magic mushrooms, top of the list. The next down is like DMT. Decriminalization when? Well, I mean, like, marijuana, top of the list. Then, like, LSD, mushrooms, then your DMT. My favorite thing in the world, and that's why, like, I'm an addict. I admit that I'm an addict. I have my rules that I go by. If someone hands me a pain pill that I didn't pay for, I will do it. But I will not pay for any kind of prescription medication. I very much like the Percocets. Like a Percocet 10, they were called big yellow school buses. Because they're big, huge yellow pills. And, like, fucking do one of those, smoke you a joint, get you a bong, best feeling in the world. Holy shit. Oh my God, I remember those days. It was so good. Best feeling in the world. Oh my God. Opioids are amazing. They're too fucking good. And that's why the fucking Sackler family is evil. That's why fucking Pfizer is evil. GlaxoSmithKline, all these fucking Oxycontin, Loratab, Percocet. Fuck them for unleashing that shit on us. So for those of you who are unaware of how like the opioid crisis got started, they actually like did their market research and their testing, their clinical trials in Eastern Kentucky. So I'm from Pikeville, Kentucky. It is the most absolute eastern part of Kentucky. I could take a piss in West Virginia. I could take a piss in Virginia. Right in smack dab in the middle of the mountains of Appalachia. Completely, fucking 50 years ago, it was goddamn completely isolated from the rest of the goddamn state. I remember, it took 20 minutes to get to my grandparents' house in my teenage years because they built a 4-lane road. But before that, it took an hour and a half to get to my Mullins grandparents. It was an insane fucking drive because you had to go up and over a mountain. And then, they blew up the fucking mountain and put a road in between it. So, because there was so much construction, coal mining, fucking trains and shit, it was a lot of heavy lifting. In Appalachia, there were a lot of people with back issues, knee issues. So they came and they did their clinical trials for Loratab, Percocet, Oxycontin in Eastern Kentucky, in West Virginia, in Eastern Kentucky, in Southern Pennsylvania. So that is the wave of the opioid crisis. The first wave started in the early 90s in Appalachia. And then it started spreading to the entire Rust Belt in the early 2000s. And it's in the entire country by the end of the 2000s. It's insane the way it spread. My dad used to get fucking 90 fucking Loratabs. It was a gigantic goddamn bottle. A month. And you get fucking 60 Xanaxes and shit. You flipped my mom's Highlander one time. Completely totaled the motherfucker. See, I've never had any kind of pain. So anytime I've had opioids, it's always been, party on. And I love, snort one of those motherfuckers and smoke a bowl. Best feeling in the goddamn. Sit back, play some video games. Best evening you can possibly imagine. Anyway, let's find out what that news be doing. There was a standoff earlier outside of Chicago.
Where police are in a standoff with a gunman.
Our Maribel Gonzalez is there live for us right now. Maribel.
Yeah, Joe and Marie, it's still a very active scene here in Schaumburg. Streets are blocked off. Neighbors are outside of their houses. And right behind us, you can actually see some members of the SWAT team standing by in full gear on the side of a house. There's also someone who moments ago, possibly law enforcement, was speaking into a speaker, issuing some sort of command, but it's unclear what they were saying from where we're standing. We are just steps away from the active scene. This is as close as we could get. We're on Princeton and Radcliffe. And just just moments ago, we've learned a landscaping worker from the Davy Tree Expert Company was shot while on the job. Their company issuing a statement saying in part that their focus is on the health of that employee who was transported to the hospital. As we mentioned, this is still a very active scene. We are not quite sure if that suspect is still barricaded or what is happening just steps behind us, but we will of course keep you updated. Reporting live in Schaumburg, Maribel Gonzalez.
It is still going on as of 28 minutes ago. I'm trying to see if I can find live stream where we can watch this. They're even further behind than the last one. God damn it. We will follow a standoff too. It's not just car chases I'll cover. God damn it. Good old fashioned standoff. Oh yeah, I'm there. It's in Chicago. Come on, how are they not how are they not covering it? Let's do, maybe Fox News Now has it. No, they're showing Netanyahu. ABC News is showing Biden. What the fuck is going on here? We got a standoff. As far as I know, it's still going on as of 20 minutes ago. Llama, good evening. Yeah, like, you should totally do opioids as prescribed by a doctor if you have some sort of surgery and they give you 10 Loratabs. Fucking take 2 the first day. Take 2 the second day, maybe, if you're still, and then step yourself down, and you're just fine. Just take them as needed for pain, as the label describes. You may want to keep a couple back for, you never know when you might have a toothache or something, and you might want to keep those couple of pain pills back. That's how a responsible adult does that. I'm not a responsible adult. I really am not. Once again, I am begging somebody adopt me. I need a mamala. I am not a responsible adult. I need a responsible adult. Are we back on, or did I lose you guys? Yes, addiction is a motherfucker, and apparently, like, you can just take them once and get addicted. I don't. That never happened for me. It definitely wasn't a once thing. But apparently, that can happen. They are very good. Let's go to Arkansas, where we have a stolen car chase. I don't think we have the chase video as a whole, but we got a news hit on it. And if I give you advice on this stream, it may sound good, but you should not listen to me. I am a fucking idiot. Do not take any advice I give on this stream whatsoever. You should probably do the opposite of whatever I say. Just throwing it out there.
Are facing charges after leading officers on a wild high-speed chase in West Memphis. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Greg Hurst. That pursuit was all caught on camera, and officers are hoping the video will send a clear message to criminals about the dangers of trying to escape. Our Shay Simon is live now in West Memphis with more. Shay?
Yeah, that's right, Stephanie. Greg, officers say that they are trying to send the message that driving away from police, it is selfish, it is reckless. And in this video you're about to see, you will see this entire chase play out along Interstate 55. In this dash cam video, you see a black 2021 Ford Mustang run a light speeding as blue lights flash from Arkansas State Police trying to pull the driver over. As the Mustang approaches the intersection of the I-55 North Service Road and MLK in West Memphis, troopers perform a tactical vehicle intervention, causing the Mustang to spin off the road.
It's absolutely not safe for our troopers to perform these techniques, but they've sworn oath to protect the public. So they put themselves between the public and the fleeing suspect. Yes, you attempt to make it spin out. Yes.
Maybe it was Memphis.
The vehicle will stall out.
Lieutenant Colonel Mike Kennedy trains troopers for pursuits just like this one. He spoke with WREG investigators earlier this year. Officers say the Mustang was reportedly driving recklessly at 100 miles an hour. You see an officer run.
What's a Mustang?
Where 23-year-old Kylan Cunningham and 23-year-old Trayvon Burnett were arrested.
We're gonna drive a Mustang.
After the chaotic pursuit, troopers found a stolen loaded gun, key fobs, and drugs in the stolen car.
Seems like you should probably drive it
We're
fast.
just being cowboys and we're going to chase them until, this thing concludes. That's not true.
But ASP is clear that suspects trying to get away will be stopped, and the consequences will be severe.
We are constantly on the lookout for new technology. We're constantly on the lookout for ways to make these situations safer. But at the end of the day, the way to make it safer is stop running. And that's our message to the public, is just stop running. It's absolutely not worth it.
No, run more.
Yes, Stephanie, Greg, tonight both the passenger and driver are facing multiple charges in Crittenden County. For your news leader in West Memphis, Shay Simon, WREG News, Channel 3.
You got a charger, don't you, Media Lynch? I've got so many videos. So much shit. Go to this. A possible explosive device found at the East Harlem Police Precinct, which sounds pretty based if you ask me. This was posted just a couple of hours ago by this NBC affiliate.
We begin with the breaking news of what appears to be an explosive device found in a car that pulled up outside the 25th NYPD precinct in East Harlem. This device has been secured by the bomb squad and emergency service unit, and now investigators are still working to see if it's the real thing. But they say it sure looks like it could be. Mark Santia is live at East Harlem.
It sure looks like it could be.
Mark?
And Chuck, you're right. The bomb they were on scene here, they did safely remove that device. They hauled it away. Right now you can see behind me East 119th Street reopened, but there were some very tense moments here. This is the device that had East 119th Street on lockdown. It all started around noon today when a car with two men inside drove up to the 25th precinct. The men are related and had been fighting.
The assault took place inside the vehicle, in which an altercation took place, and the passenger assaulted the driver with a machete.
Police found that machete, made an arrest, and during their investigation also discovered
with a machete.
This device described as
a potentially viable improvised explosive device.
I was really nervous, actually. I was a little scared.
Kamori Bryant lives near the precinct. She was doing her hair when the chaos erupted.
I saw the bomb squad guy go in, and he got the it was like a little black device, and I saw he took it out.
The bomb squad safely removed the device. Police say they're taking it apart to check it out.
It was fairly large. It's not small. If it functioned, it was able to function as designed. What we would say in my parlance is it was capable of causing death or serious physical injury to anyone.
In his parlance.
Make no mistake about it. Finding a device like this, and we'll test it, and the bomb squad is working, also an explosion, but it is serious.
This case far from over for detectives.
Sure, they got some more interviews to do. They got to go over to a residence, take a look there, and they'll just keep going at where the evidence takes them. So there's more work to be done on this.
Chuck and Natalie, right now, police are working to try to figure out why the
device
was constructed and where the device was constructed. Also, if there are other devices that are out there, that's what they're working to determine right now. This investigation far from over. We're live in Harlem. I'm Mark Santia, News 4 New York.
Goddamn. Ease my head off. So that dude had a machete. This person had a samurai sword. This happened in San Dimas, California. Samurai sword.
Now to a brutal attack in San Dimas that has left one person dead and 2 others hurt. The weapon, a samurai sword. The deadly attack happened at around 3:30 this afternoon in a normally quiet neighborhood.
Investigators say the bloody attack may have started as some sort of domestic dispute.
KTLA's Rick Chambers live in San Dimas with more on just what happened. Rick.
Micah, this does look like some sort of an argument between 3 female family members, but at this point, what caused it to turn violent suddenly, we don't know. But the fact that the 2 survivors only speak Mandarin Chinese is slowing the investigation. A woman walks along Huntington Avenue here in San Dimas with a sword in her hand. Her legs appear to be cut, a trail of blood behind her on the sidewalk.
Fucking cool.
Sheriff's deputies then, responding to what they think is a rescue call, roll up on the woman near a rental van in the street and tell her to drop the sword.
That female then directs them to a residence on the street where the deputies find an additional female suffering also from lacerations, who was later pronounced dead at the scene. And as they continued through the residence, an additional female was found in the residence unharmed, who was also transferred to a local hospital due to a medical emergency.
We understand that that may have been a heart attack, but what prompted this deadly struggle between at least 2 of what police are describing as Chinese women is unknown.
Preliminary investigation suggests there may be a family relation, but again, because of the language barrier, we have not confirmed that.
A little bit uneasy because I don't know what's going on.
Local residents who were kept from returning to their homes near the crime scene are understandably shaken.
Shocked, surprised. So yes, it doesn't happen in this neighborhood. I mean, you see it in the news and other places, but just shocked it happened here so close.
Yeah. No one else was wounded by the sword, and detectives say there is no further threat to this local community. And we understand that
was a pretty cool video
here to the scene and to the hospital. We're hoping
a little turned on by
more information tomorrow. In San Dimas, I'm Rick Chambers. Guys, I'll throw it back to you in Hollywood.
All right, Rick, thank you.
In Hollywood. I think this one also came out of California. Dude decided to go into a 7-Eleven in San Fernando Valley with an AK.
The San Fernando Valley, a clerk at a 7-Eleven in Canoga Park held up at gunpoint this morning. Police say the suspects were armed with an AK-47 as they stole cash and other merchandise. KTLA's Carlos Herrera live in Canoga Park with the details for us. Carlos, good morning.
Hi, Frank. Good morning. And just moments ago, we saw LAPD detectives speaking with that terrified clerk and the manager of this Canoga Park 7-Eleven right behind me. That clerk, by the way, still working today. He says he's considering himself lucky to be alive. Let's get you over to some pictures as this all unfolded.
Capitalism for you.
Around 3:30 a.m. investigators say when a red Hyundai parked out front of the 7-Eleven here, the three masked suspects jumped out of the car and then stormed inside. Now, one of them pointed an assault-style rifle at the poor clerk and then demanded cash, while the two others took everything that they could. That included snacks, alcohol, cigarettes, and even water. Now, police say the three of them walked out.
Police are hydrated.
A few minutes. We spoke with this startled clerk this morning who didn't want his identity to be revealed. He says he saw his life flash before his eyes.
The problem is lies very soft, like shoplifting, anything. They know that, and they will get away within hours. And the police can't do it, anything.
After the robbery, the three suspects got into that red Hyundai, and then where a getaway driver was waiting for them, they all took off with about $500 worth of cash. The suspects, again, still on the run this morning. Police telling us that there is surveillance video that captured the moments of that armed robbery here inside the 7-Eleven. We're trying to get our hands on that video as we come back out here live. Again, LAPD.
Yeah, I'd love to see the video.
Any information on this, you're urged to contact the LAPD's Robbery Homicide Division. Frank and Jessica will send it back to you.
I don't know, it's been busy out in LA today. Going to check out video of a massive structure fire.
In Rosemead.
Ooh, that's a lot of flames and a lot of thick black smoke. Gil Levis in Sky 5 with all the details. Hi, Gil.
Hi, in LA. This has been burning since just before 2:30 this afternoon. LA County Fire on scene here. It is a large commercial structure that is on fire right now. There's hazmat teams here. They're concerned about the chemicals that are within this property itself. As you can see, they're fighting it defensively with those heavy streams trying to surround the fire. Now on one side there's a wash there on the right hand side. That's going to be the east side of the building right now, but this is in the 2600 block of River Avenue, just south of Garvey Avenue, and they're throwing everything they can at this fire to try to cool it down, to calm it down, but it looks like that building is a complete loss. Now the concern is for the chemicals that are burning right now. The hazmat teams were concerned about.
Georgie, wasn't that
this property?
Wasn't that truck that hit the retaining wall? Wasn't that in New Jersey?
Buildings as well. So
we watched the video of that. It was insane.
A large plume of smoke that can be seen all across the San Gabriel Valley here. But again, firefighters doing what they can to try to knock this down. But it is just nothing but black smoke coming up out of this fire, pushing off that smoke to the northeast right now. So if you're in this area, you're going to want to keep your doors and windows closed. You don't want to be exposed to any.
Well, not sober is the best way to watch
out of this fire right now. But as I zoom in here, you can see some of those containers that continue to catch fire here.
But you'll probably want to watch it a couple of different times because it's not in order. That is not the only thing on fire in California, as wildfires rage all across the West Pacific Northwest and Canada.
And in Canada have forced thousands of people to evacuate. Crews are fighting flames in California, Oregon, and Utah. The fires have burned through thousands of acres. Idaho is also dealing with some of the largest fires right now. CBS News' Jonathan Vigliotti has more. Jonathan?
John, we're here in Boise, Idaho. This state currently threatened by 70 wildfires, many of them burning in hard-to-reach remote areas. One of the first things that you'll notice from where we are, all of this bone-dry vegetation that is blanketing this region. This is perfect fuel for wildfire, and it's been exacerbated by all of the extreme heat. Here in Idaho, we're talking 17 consecutive days of heat exceeding 99 degrees. That's a new record. The heat and the fire also impacting nearby Oregon State, where there are dozens of wildfires burning there.
the most.
And where we're keeping a close eye on the Durkee fire, which has exploded to more than 200 acres, leading to the evacuation of several communities. Those flames also threatening a nearby major roadway. Meteorologists there saying that the fire has grown so big, it is now generating its own weather system, making those flames unpredictable and incredibly dangerous for fire crews to protect and to combat. Meanwhile, to the north of us in Alberta, Canada, a major fire there leading to the evacuation of nearly 25,000 people. The worst of fire season doesn't typically hit until September. The concern tonight that this is a foreshadowing of more to come, John.
Jonathan Bigliotti. Thank you, Jonathan.
I may have misheard it, but it kind of sounded like Durkee. And Quesadilla brings up a very good point. Last Sunday was the hottest day on Earth in all of recorded history.
5-hour team coverage of continues on all this hot weather.
Yeah, and we talk a lot about just how dangerous the heat can be. Tonight, Channel 3 Hartford Bureau Chief Aya Galal is helping us visualize that. Aya is live at Goodwin Park in Hartford with a special tool. Aya.
Hi, Aaron and Mark. Yeah, I've been using this thermometer to test surface temperatures across the capital city today. Some of the results pretty surprising. So right now we're at Colt Park in Hartford. It's just a little after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're going to test out to see how hot surface temperatures get around here. So we're going to start with this park bench. No shade here.
I don't think this has anything to do with the hottest temperature ever. On Sunday, the Earth sizzled to the hottest day ever measured by humans. Yet I got fucking gaslit by the news agency. Yet another heat record shattered in the past couple of years, according to the European Climate Service Copernicus. Copernicus's preliminary data shows that the global average temperature Sunday was 17.09 degrees Celsius, beating the record set just last year on July 6th by 0.0 degrees Celsius. Both Sunday's mark and last year's record obliterate the previous record of 16.8 degrees Celsius, which itself was only a few years old, set in 2016. It was like 103, 104 or something here the other day. Nature is getting angry. I'm on the side of the fucking whales. Video off the coast of Boston, I believe. Off the coast of New Hampshire. Off the coast of New Hampshire.
Wild scenes off the coast of New Hampshire as a whale breaches, and you can see it capsize that boat. Thanks for joining us. I'm Erica Taranto.
And I'm Ben Simino. It is incredible. As the whale came down on the boat, both people on board were sent into the water. Thankfully, everybody tonight. Jessica Brown in the newsroom with what we've learned about this one. Jessica.
Really is wild video. We are now for the first time hearing from the teenage boys who saw the whole thing happen. Take a look again at the incredible moment caught on video. Yeah, he's like, time to go. This was off Rye Beach, New Hampshire this morning. So those two are brothers, Colin and Wyatt. They're from Elliott, Maine. They were in the area to fish. Well, Colin was recording the video as the whale jumped up and onto that boat over there. Wyatt could not believe his eyes either.
I saw it come up, and I was just like, oh, it's going to hit the boat. And then it kind of, it started to flip.
I had my fishing rod right here and phone in my hand, and I saw it go up. So I was like, just lucky enough to be facing the right direction.
Yeah, they say one of the men on that boat jumped off. You see him there. The other didn't have time. He got shoved into the water and under the boat. They say he did make it out pretty quickly. Colin and Wyatt went over to help them get out of the water. We're going to hear more from them tonight at 6. Ben?
Wild scenes off the coast of New Hampshire as a whale breaches, and you can see it capsize that boat. Thanks for joining us. I'm Erica Taranto.
And I'm Ben Simino. It is incredible. As the whale came down on the boat, both people on board were sent into the water. Thankfully, everybody's okay tonight. Jessica Brown in the newsroom with what we've learned about this one. Jessica.
Really is wild video. We are now, for the first time, hearing from the teenage boys who saw the whole thing happen. Take a look at
that is your animal video for tonight.
Video.
All white people just look alike, Dougie.
Rye Beach, New Hampshire this morning. So those
if you're watching on Twitch, you're heading over to
we're in the area to fish.
The gay latex dating sim stream.
Up and onto that boat over there. Wyatt could not believe.
Sounds like a lot of fun with Riverboat Jack.
I saw it come up, and I was just like, oh, it's gonna
go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before we hit the sack. I'm JustinFREAKIN. We'll see you tomorrow night on the Troll Patrol live.
Yeah, they say one of the men